Good evening. Welcome to the Board of Education meeting continuing from earlier on October 10th, 2023. Thank you all for being here. We've got quite a full room. We're going to start by taking attendance. Anya?
Hi, everyone. Anya Iapin, student board member.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jesse Van Zee, and I'm trustee for Area 1.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out. I'm Susanna Ordway, and I represent Area 4.
Hi, everybody. My name is Shelley Clark, and I represent Area 2.
Hi, I'm Laura Bratt. I represent Area 3.
And Rachel Hurd representing Area 5. Okay, please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I have an opening remark related to the recent attacks in Israel that I would like to read. We are deeply saddened by the tragic loss of life resulting from the recent attacks on Israel by Hamas. We mourn the loss of innocent people on all sides. Our thoughts are with all families in our community who are impacted by this crisis. We will be providing resources to our schools so that they can support students, staff, and families as they navigate emotions and trauma in healthy, safe, and productive ways. We also want to encourage our families more than ever before to be cognizant of their students' access to social media. As a board, we trust that our community will demonstrate compassion and understanding with each other as events continue to unfold. Thank you. Okay, next, get to do one of the best parts of our board meetings, and that is some student recognition. So I'm going to read a little bit of this while I'm sitting at my seat because it's a little long, and then we'll have the students come in. So tonight we're beginning our meeting the same way we typically do, with student recognition. However, tonight is a bit different because the students we are honoring are alumni of San Ramon Valley Unified School District. As you know, the district ran a 30 under 30 recognition campaign over the summer to celebrate alumni who've made a positive impact in our community and beyond. Our graduates go on to do so many wonderful things when they leave us, and we love to hear how their education here in SRVUSD has laid the framework for their journey. The 30 young adults we are honoring tonight were chosen by a review committee consisting of members from the town of Danville, Danville Chamber of Commerce, City of San Ramon Chamber of Commerce. Oops, I jumped ahead. Sorry, not San Ramon, San Ramon Parks and Recs, San Ramon Valley Council of PTAs, San Ramon Valley Education Foundation, SRVUSD, and the community. In addition to recognizing them here tonight, our honorees will be celebrated at the October 18th State of the School District Breakfast event and are highlighted on the new 30 under 30 webpage on the district website, which will soon include a video. I'm going to pick up this plaque and show you that we have this plaque with all of their names, which will be hung here in our boardrooms in proud recognition of our first year honorees. So I'm going to get up like I usually do. And when I say your name, kindly come forward. And I think everyone else is going to join me up there too, like we usually do. Okay. Okay, our first honoree is Ali Akifi from California High School, class of 2018, described as hardworking, passionate, eager, and curious, Ali attended UC Santa Cruz after high school. He graduated with a degree in biomolecular engineering and bioinformatics and is currently working in the medical device industry at Orlucent. His role focuses on developing computational statistical analysis modes for accurate measurement of detectable moles to help frontline dermatologists provide more accurate diagnoses. Next, we have Andrew Ahrens from San Ramon Valley High School, class of 2016. Andrew graduated from UC Davis with dual degrees in aerospace and mechanical engineering, and this year will complete his master's degree in both. His thesis on a laundering device powered by astronaut aerobic exercise led to a published paper presented at the International Conference on Environmental Systems in Calgary, Canada. Andrew has interned with NASA Ames since 2019 and hopes to pursue a PhD program before working full-time at NASA. He also volunteers as the program director for the STEM Outreach for Academic Reinforcement. Next, I'd like to invite up Kyle Costamagna from California High School, class of 2013. Kyle has done many things since graduating from Cal Poly, including starting a youth outreach program in Costa Rica, attending paramedic school, working on the front line during COVID, and volunteering at Twin Creeks Elementary School. It was there that Kyle discovered his passion for working in the classroom. After getting his CTE credential, Kyle introduced a new STEM class at SRVUSD, Medical Technology, which he now teaches at Pine Valley Middle School. He attended the Space Academy for Educators program in Alabama, where he flew a simulator of the space shuttle. Next, I'd like to invite up Shelby, excuse me. Shelby was from Doherty Valley High School, class of 2012. She graduated from Chapman University with a major in communication studies and a minor in LGBTQ+ studies. She received a master's of nonprofit administration from the University of San Francisco. Shelby currently serves as the chief business officer for the Parker Group, a technology, media, social impact, and investment platform that focuses on finding a cure for cancer. She volunteers for Breast Cancer Prevention Partners, also has self-published 2 books, run 2 50-mile races, and has embraced self-care in her quest to manage her juvenile diabetes. The next student is Sarah DeMeo. Is she here tonight? We're not sure if she's here. Okay, so we congratulate Sarah, and then we'll go on. Ryan Fido, Doherty Valley High School, class of 2021. Ryan is an inspiration and has shown resilience and an unwavering commitment to self-growth. Despite a significant challenge as a special needs individual, Ryan serves as a police explorer as well as a scoutmaster and has his own home and pet sitting business. He manages the Teen Centers program and a recreational program for special needs adults. His character, determination, dedication to service, and contributions to the San Ramon and Danville communities are a true inspiration for all. The next student is Jordan Ezern, and I don't think Jordan is here tonight. Avery Jones, Monte Vista High School, class of 2016. While at Monte Vista, Avery was not only a strong student, but was also already looking for ways to grow her future career by participating in an off-campus internship program at Blake Griggs Properties. During her time at Cal Poly, she furthered her interest in the building industry by interning at Braun Development and Meritage Home. She is now a forward planner at DR Horton and is a member of Professional Women Building, part of the Building Industry Association in the Bay Area. Her future is bright as she continues her career as a proud woman in construction. Now I'd like to invite up Hannah Love from Monte Vista High School, class of 2011. Don't think Hannah's with us tonight. So we'd also like to acknowledge the other 30 under 30 honorees who were not able to attend tonight. One more, that's right. Why is it not on my sheet? It is on my sheet. It's just farther forward. Gia Giuliano. Got to find her page. Bear with me. She's from Venture, class of 2014. Gia attended San Jose State and graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Communications with a minor in Public Relations. She is now a human resources professional who has worked at many firms, including Twitter and Zoom. During high school, Gia found Venture's unique educational model not only to be a good fit for her, but also one that propelled her to success as a young adult. Congratulations. Okay, and the additional graduates who couldn't be here tonight, I will just read their names and their schools and their classes. Bruno Berenstein, California High School, class of 2011. Jacob Berwick, California High School, class of 2016. Mary Elizabeth Bevins, Venture, class of 2018. Was she one of yours, Kathy? Eiley Corbett, Monte Vista High School, class of 2021. Madison Cronin, Doherty Valley High School, class of 2011. Tiana Day, Doherty Valley High School, class of 2020. Marina Fernandez, California High School, class of 2017. Sarah Goulier, San Ramon Valley High School, class of 2018. Grant Hagan, San Ramon Valley High School, class of 2020. Taylor Hsu, Doherty Valley High School, class of 2020. This is hard to do one-handed. Melissa Francis Jurasiah, California High School, class of 2014. Pranit Kumara, Doherty Valley High School, class of 2012. Ethan Lister, California High School, class of 2018. Conan Liu, San Ramon Valley High School, class of 2011. Marisol Loney, California High School, class of 2018. Cole Melick, California High School, class of 2015. Michael Morelli, California High School, class of 2012. Bobby Pointer, California High School, class of 2018. We're getting close to 30 now. Christina Ceronio, California High School, class of 2020. And last but not least, Allison Zhang, Doherty Valley High School, class of 2014. I read through all of the little write-ups on each one and talk about amazing young people representing San Ramon Valley Unified School District. I highly encourage you all to, when all this goes up on the website, to take a look because you will be proud. Thank you to all of the students, graduates who are here tonight, and let's take a picture. Hey, that was awesome. Next, I need to report out on actions taken in closed session. And so at this evening's closed session, in case 02 of this school year, the board voted 5-0 to deny the student records challenge. The board voted 5-0 to approve the settlement for anticipated litigation on item 4.3. And the board voted 5-0 to appoint Jyoti Dave as the principal at Country Club Elementary, effective immediately. I guess that means tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes. All right, now we are on acceptance of minutes, 8.1. Can I have a motion to approve our September 12th minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
The motion was made by Board Member Clark and seconded by Board Member Bratt. Roll call vote. Student Board Member Iapan.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, now we have agenda approval and consent action. For the sake of the audience, I want to explain that consent agenda is where we put items that are deemed routine in nature, and then we vote on them all at one time. If any member of the board would like to pull an item from consent, they may do that. If any member of the public wishes to speak to a consent item, they may do so now. But before anyone stands up, I will ask if staff has anything they would like us to pull from consent.
Thank you, President Hurd. Staff would like to pull 1310 and bring that over into our action items.
Okay, so 1310 will become 11.4, okay? And then any other requests for removing from consent?
Yeah, I'd like to pull out 13.7 for discussion as well.
Okay, so 13.7 will become 11.5. And Jesse, help me remember so I don't go
Okay.
whizzing past it, okay? All right, so with those changes to consent, can we have a motion to approve the open session agenda?
I'll move to approve.
I second.
The motion was made by Board Member Ordway and seconded by Board Member Clark. Roll call vote. Student Board Member Iapan.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
And I recognize I did that a little odd, but I think it's still fine. So can we also have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a
As
motion.
amended.
Oh, I'll make a motion to
Sorry.
approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
The motion was made by Board Member Bratt and seconded by Board Member Ordway. Roll call vote. Board Member Iapan. Student Board Member Iapan.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, that puts us at reports to the board. The first one is a school highlight with Doherty Valley High School Principal Evan Powell.
All right. Thank you, trustees, superintendent, staff, our San Juan Valley community, everyone behind me and watching at home. Doherty Valley is an amazing place. You can see here, we're playing a little game of Pac-Man tonight, but also throughout the entire year. And I'll explain why here shortly. As we heard earlier in student recognition, Doherty Valley mentioned a lot. And it's great to see our students, not just at Doherty Valley, but all of our schools and how successful they are as they leave our schools and venture off into the adult working world. So to get started tonight, you ask why? Why are we playing Pac-Man? And it has to do with Doherty Valley leveling up. We realized with all the great work we've done at Doherty Valley over the last 16 years and into year 17, and through the strategic directions that we need to make some fine tunes. We need to play that game and make some adjustments so we can get to that next level. And so the theme this year, through our summertime acknowledgement, through our WASC visit last year, which I'll explain in a moment, context and feedback from students, families, survey data, we realized, yes, there's always work to do, and we wanted to level up this year. So talking about safety around campus, supporting our students' mental health with our wellness center and counseling department, deep learning innovation using the district-wide essential standards, and focusing on the student. If we focus on our students, we know we're going to reach that level of instruction, the equity and the social emotional well-being that we do talk about on a weekly and daily basis. And then lastly, the diverse extracurriculars. Having a school of 3,140 plus students, there's a lot to offer, and there's something for everyone. I mean, if there isn't, they create it. They get to have fun, and we want to support them with that. So recent headlines, I want to start with in the summer, we received our 6-year accreditation from WASC after a lovely visit last spring. This came with a mid-cycle visit. It's exactly what we were hoping for. It showed that over the last 6-7 years, we took feedback from the WASC visiting committee. We implemented it. We received feedback from our students, our staff. We made the adjustments to support the social emotional well-being of students, the academic instruction, and we couldn't be more proud with this result. I was very fortunate with our WASC visit to be a part of that, to hear from students and families, and this is exactly what we wanted. So we went into summer knowing we were in a good standing. Recently, we found out we were an AP honor roll, which is a gold status, and that's due to at least one 78% of our seniors took at least one AP exam, and 72.1% of them scored at least a 3 or higher on that one exam. We know we have over 4,200 AP exams every year, and we know majority of our students are taking AP exams. So this was nice to be recognized by College Board for this and the students' hard work. And then lastly, in recent news, the US News report and the ranking of Doherty Valley High School, we take this into consideration because of what they use as their metric system. And you look at 50% of what they look at is CASP assessments. And so what we want to dig into is what does this mean and how do we include that in our conversations with families, but also the student performance, the instruction from our staff, and overall the AP scores, and then the California dashboard. So as we learn more about this, as the dashboard is changing, it would be nice to be number one, but we know there's more to it than that. But it is positive news. This is great information for not only Doherty Valley, but all of our schools, as we did excel across our state. And I know San Ramon Valley Unified is on the map because of all of our high schools. So here's some photos of Doherty Valley. This is great. This is what we get to see every day. You can see a picture of our library, which we know is used heavily before school, during school, after school, and events. In the lower right corner is a picture of our orchestra at our pancake breakfast a few weeks ago. This is where we offer just a great time through our music boosters for students and families to eat breakfast and see a live show. It's a great Saturday morning, and it's so much fun to attend. Our first home football game was a packed house by our student section. We got to capture that. And then last year, you're wondering, why are there mascots? Well, we started doing mascot races last year as part of building community for our elementary schools. We want our elementary school families and students to come to our football games to experience what it's like with Friday Night Lights, because we know a lot of our families aren't familiar with Friday Night Lights like other schools. And so this was a vision with collaboration PTSA and myself trying to plan how we building community, and we've carried it over this year. And I think one of the best comments I heard from an opposing team is, okay, we need to do this. That was a lot of fun to watch. And it's great to get our feeder schools involved in our community. Deep learning innovation has been a really big focus over the last 2 years under the direction from the board, looking at how we're supporting students and instruction. We really want to dive into this. And so last year, We did engage our staff on a regular basis. I asked them to be aware, to think about the professional development we're providing, to take the lessons they're doing and how do we get that higher level of thinking. And then I asked them to upload at least one, made it easy, at least one deep learning assignment, student samples, or as a project, whatever it was, so we can see it and we can collect it. And what we saw through our classroom visits, through observations, and through what we saw in the Google folder, that students were being asked to problem solve, work together, create websites, present, speak. They were definitely being challenged, and there was some choice in that. And that's what we really enjoyed seeing, is that in every class it's different, and that's how it should be. But staff were listening to students and that student voice, but also how to make it better and applicable to the real world. So this year, as we want to level up, we want to continue that success, and our instructional practices. No, we don't want to dip. We want to keep going. We want to push it, but at the same time, we want to be supportive and collaborative with our students. So as we focus on supporting all students, it's important we take that voice in mind. On the right, you'll see this is a student work sample. I only cut the first part because to me, it looks like something you'll see on the internet. It's an article. The student I met with, had a great conversation with her, and I found out exactly what I thought. This was a student choice assignment. As long as they didn't write a standard 5-paragraph essay, they had the freedom to do what they wanted to and express themselves and answer the questions and the prompts. And when you read through what she wrote, it's truly a remarkable piece. And so I was very pleased to see this in our sci-fi English class, senior year English class. And it goes to show that teachers are making these adjustments, making the changes, and they're getting more out of it from students. So we're excited to continue with this level of instruction. Student empowerment, student voice. Last year was a big one. We really enjoyed listening to students. I hosted some student forums. We started having students come to more PTSA meetings to speak at back to school night to families, really be involved in family events. So that way students can communicate to their families, their friends' families, to our community to help share what they need. We talk about it all the time. You know, we have to work collaboratively. We have to listen. We have to be equal partners. And so we started doing this, going through the forums. May not have been well attended every single one, but we did find valuable information and to make adjustments to our school culture, to practices throughout our day, and really listen to students to make it a better school climate and school environment. Student-led activities really come with our clubs and supporting them. We have so many clubs, and our club advisors spend so much time, and we just want to make sure that students have that access and can do what they want. Some of these include some of our clubs put on weekend events, Diwali events, you name it. It's important that they represent our school culture, and we're there to support them. Call to action started forming last year through a series of unfortunate events on our campus that were made aware in public, and students wanted to come together. And so through our liaisons, through multiple staff members, including administration, and a large number of students, we started planning a call to action day. It is a lot bigger than everyone was thinking. So we did table it till we're looking at a time in spring, but it's exciting to see a number of clubs coming together to say, we want to support one another. We want all students to engage and work well with each other, but also see like we need to respect one another. And so it's great to see a lot of our clubs coming together and our liaisons helping with this. And then lastly, our ethnic studies and BSU symposium we hosted last year, hearing student feedback, understanding what our students are saying and how we can implement and make changes across our curriculum to where students are seen, they feel connected. And so that student voice is taken very seriously. A number of staff are actually responsive to that and say, thank you, I really needed that. And then they're able to help change their practice. This year, not only are we continuing with deep learning and innovation, but we're also focusing on assessment and collaboration. I know we have our a district model where we're talking about what assessment looks like. However, there's more to it. And so we want to continue with the weekly collaboration, what teaching and learning looks like, because that's why we're here. We want to teach, we want students to learn, and we have to focus on students. We have to focus on their needs, and we need to individualize that in some cases. So you can see this graphic here. We began this last year when we realized our collaboration wasn't necessarily the best. We didn't really know what was going on. And so we created a planning tool that our staff can write notes on, and we can see what's going on. But also it's like a checklist. We want to make sure that we spend that morning time effectively to support students. And so this is like a choice board, and our students benefit from it because teachers are working together. Teachers are supporting one another, admin are supporting them, counselors are supporting, and then it leads to conversations with our families and our students and the use of the access period and support models. So as we continue throughout this year, we're always looking to improve and hearing feedback. But really the reality is we want to make sure our struggling learners are getting the support that they need. And this is an area of focus that we're able to support that on a weekly basis. Social emotional well-being is one of our largest areas that we want to keep in mind on a daily basis. Here's some photos of our wellness center, our counseling office with some support boards. And then we did have some therapy dogs one day, and students get to come and hang out with these awesome animals. Everyone loves it. Signups always go fast. But why I put this on here is we have a very large counseling team through our counselors, our student support counselor, our wellness center, and our interns. And it's important that everyone knows that we strive to be proactive and supportive with all of our staff. We post as much as we can. We want everyone to understand that we have the resources. That's why they're out there. We have every year at least 2 or 3 PTSA presentations that give supportive measures for our school community, and then a number of classroom presentations that our staff does as well. So this is a great resource. I would say it's the wellness centers used every period before school, lunchtime, after school, their snacks. Kids have a great relationship with our staff and a great relationship with our counselors. And without them, it would be really hard, but I know our team is here to support our students. We're very, very thankful for them. It is homecoming week, so I want to show our building decorations. We do not have floats or a parade, but we do decorate our 4 classroom buildings. And it is Willie Goes to Vegas as the theme. And it's a lot of fun for our students, and it's our creative side gets to come out. And what we really like is the hard work students put in over this past weekend. And then it leads up to activities with the rally on Friday, the dance on Saturday, and they get to have fun. Dress up days. Today was either dress to impress or wear pajamas. And I saw a lot of students dressing to impress up top and PJs on bottom. And, the creativity is great, and you can see it. It's that spirit week that they needed, and it's a breath of fresh air. So just want everyone to see our photos from our homecoming week. And then extracurriculars are big. Like I said, we have over 3,100 students on our campus. We've had a lot of success in the last year. You can see these are first place and second place teams throughout our school from last year. Also our speech and debate team getting ready to perform, and our robotics team performing as well. So it's important that you see our students in action. You see the success, not only academically when I started the presentation, but we can conclude with the extracurriculars to bring that whole child together in what Doherty Valley is made up of. And so with that, I leave you with Go Wildcats and Willie, who's actually my oldest son, finally fits in the Willie costume. So surprised him with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. Anybody have any comments?
I just want to say thank you for all the work that you and your staff and teachers and the students do to make the Doherty Valley High School community an amazing place to learn. So thank you.
I want to say thank you also. I was fortunate enough to attend the Ethnic Studies Symposium and the BSU Symposium last year, and they were amazing experiences to really sit with the students and hear what they had to say and what they need. And I hope that you do it again and you make us all proud for sure. And I'm glad that you mentioned mental health, because being such a high academic school, there's also all the pressures that come with it. And we as a board and as a district want to make sure that our students are balanced and are taken care of so that they can perform their best. So thank you.
Yep, like to echo that with social emotional focus as well as academic focus. And I actually love the choice boards too, because you're also supporting your teachers and and staff. So thank you.
I'll just say phenomenal work. I had fun visiting the school last year and doing a tour of everything. And I love that you've got this great academic achievement, and you're also doing so much for building community there. It was really cool to see all those things.
I'm a proud. It's great to.
And you get an A+ on your presentation creativity too. Thank you very much. It was really great to have such a well-rounded presentation about your campus and to see the fun side of it too. All right. Okay, back to our agenda. We have 10.2, the resolutions that are being highlighted at this meeting. Melanie, I think you're going to take the first one.
Sorry, what number are we on?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're on the resolutions and you were going to do substitute educators day.
Sorry. Yes, I apologize. I had my mind on other items. So we are going to, I have the pleasure of bringing forward a resolution for Substitute Educators Day. This is a day that we want to make sure that we recognize all of our wonderful certificated and classified substitutes who support our schools and our students every single day. Obviously, we know that they maintain and keep the learning happening in the classroom when teachers unfortunately have to be out. And they not only maintain the learning that goes on in the classroom, they support students in a variety of ways, safety, social, emotionally. They get to know their communities. A lot of them are very much committed to their school communities. Many of them go to a variety of schools around the district, and some of them like to stay at a particular school and really get to work into deeply into the school community and just really provide really meaningful contributions. And without them, the school district would not run so smoothly and efficiently. So we just want to recognize them and thank them for all of their work and dedication to our community.
Thank you. And we have a second one, National Native American Heritage Month, that Hong Wen is going to tell us about.
Good evening, board members, superintendent, assistant superintendent, staff, students, and community. My name is Song Lee and I'm the Director of Educational Equity. November is National Native American Heritage Month, which is celebrated across SRVUSD. At this time, I would like to give a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that SRVUSD sits on the traditional lands of the Chochenyo, Bay, Miwok, and Ohlone peoples and pay respect to elders both past and present. It's important for us to continue to recognize and pay respects. We know that we are on these traditional lands. We actually had a burial site at one of our schools. And so, we know that this is something that we need to make sure that we're paying respects to. There is a Sumi land tax. And so I actually linked it to this presentation, but in paying respects, we can't just recognize, but we also need to give back. And so that was something that's important to us. And as we meet with our elders, that's something that they also share with us as well. So according to the National Congress of American Indians, the month is a time to celebrate rich and diverse cultures, traditions, and histories, and to acknowledge the important contributions of Native people. Native American Heritage Month is also an opportunity, time to educate our public. And we know that that's something that we need to make sure that we're making sure that we are raising awareness for. We also want to make sure that we are understanding the unique challenges that our Native people have gone through. And we want to make sure that in our presence, we are working to combat some of those different challenges and conquer those. In our district, we are working really hard to build relationships with our local tribes. We've actually worked with the Sagorate Land Trust and really working with a specific person, Karina Gold, who is the tribal chair of the Confederate Villages of Lishan Nation. And so in working with them, one of the things that they had put together more recently is the Lishan Nation Curriculum Collective, which we are a part of because we want to be able to also share some of our lesson plans that we actually have with them, but also to be able to be a resource and gain some resources as well. And so that's something that we have been really just being a part of, really excited for us to be a part of that group and that network and really being around other Native American people to be able to gain that knowledge. And so we're very passionate about that work. And of course, we want to be able to continue our professional learning and diversifying our texts so that way our students can see themselves within the curriculum itself. And of course, being able to share various resources. We'll be sharing various resources with our teachers so that way they can actually share it in their classrooms. And Karina Gold, who is the co-founder as well as the tribal leader for the Confederate Villages of Lishan Nation, had shared this quote. To give dignity back to our ancestors, but also give back to the people that are living today, and not just to the Ohlone people, but it gives dignity back to everyone that lives in our territory now. And so we look forward to all the fun activities that are happening in the month of November, as well as all the learnings. I'm really looking forward to seeing the 4th annual Native American storytelling showcase that actually happens at Coyote Creek every year. And so I know that a number of you actually come out and visit that as well. And so we do want to recognize that November is National Native American Heritage Month. Thank you.
Okay, we're on public comments, and I just want to explain something before we start. First, I noticed as I was sorting cards, I have 2 cards for Heather Sturts. And Heather, I see that you put one in for consent agenda and another for 1310. So I'm wondering if they were to talk about the same item, and when we moved it to action, did we address it? So we'll have you come up at 11.4. Is that okay? Okay, just wanted to make sure I was doing it correctly. And there's a second one like that too. Okay, we have in our bylaws the option to, when we have a lot of cards, to do half an hour's worth of public comment and then delay the rest of it so that we can get through the rest of our business. So I'm going to use that again because we have more than 10. And I tried to keep them in roughly the same order, but kind of mix up, people we were hearing from, because people do put identifiers on their cards that indicate maybe what they're talking about or what school they're from. So I have 10 lined up. The others you'll get to speak, but it'll be after we're finished with the action items, okay? Okay, related to public comment, we limit every public comment to no more than 3 minutes. We really want to hear what you have to say, but we do need, for the sake of time, to cut you off after 3 minutes. We do ask that everyone who speaks is respectful to, just in general, to civility. But we also ask the audience to be respectful to that person's time and that person's, time to speak. It has also become apparent recently that we should clarify that it is okay to applaud after a speaker speaks, as long as it's a reasonable amount of time. But booing is not considered civil behavior. So if you boo, you will be called out. So I think that pretty much sums up. I have a much more detailed script, but let's just go with it, and hopefully we won't have to interrupt anybody. You can talk in non-public comment about anything you want to talk about. The board has to take criticism, and we can take criticism about the district. We just ask you to be polite, ideally not, name people and shame people, but you do have a right to speak about anything that relates to our jurisdiction. So please don't talk about what's going on in international politics because that's not in our jurisdiction. Okay. All right. So I'm going to call 2 or 3 names at a time, just so you know that your time is coming up. First speaker will be Brendan Perona. And the second one will be Ann Tanasioko. I'm sorry. Ann, I apologize. Ann Tansioko. And then Jade and Eva will be third. So Brendan, are you here? Welcome up. Come on up. Right here at this microphone. Sorry.
I'm here to speak on the equality issue that happened at SRV. As a student actually present in the discussion, having heard firsthand what was spoken, I can safely say beyond a shadow of a doubt that nothing said was even close to offensive towards any group of people. The discussion was about understanding, loving, and respecting all cultures. Myself and others are outraged that anyone would oppose equality. That is the reason these discussions on equality and discrimination need to be had. Because of the people who opposed unification and harmony in all areas, we as people striving to be just and loving towards all people have to clean up the mess and deal with the actions. Because of the pandemic, our choir program was greatly hindered and shrunk immensely. This year, we've come back stronger than pre-pandemic through effort, inclusivity, and the wonderful work of staff and supporters of the program. So it breaks my heart that our director, Mr. DiGiacinto, is being accused for loving everyone and being a representation of how we should treat people. He is someone we look up to. He's someone we love and respect, not just in choir, but outside of it as well. His involvement in the community and choir is exceptional, and he's truly a role model. We've been working around the clock to balance singing and being what a choir should be with the ramifications of the outburst. Our choir experience has been hindered because of this issue. If you care about anyone in the choir, and more importantly, if you care about anyone, regardless of labels or outside traits, reflect on how this issue negatively impacted. Reflect on how this issue needed a whole multitude of work, wasting our time just to justify prejudice. We strive for equality, and it should be inherently human that you do as well. This is not an attack. This is merely a just call for you to think about how you impact everyone and how prejudice does not belong anywhere on the face of this earth, especially in a learning environment. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ann Tansioko.
Good evening, school board trustees, Superintendent Dr. Malloy, assistant superintendents, and all staff and community here in this room and looking virtually. First, if I'm not mistaken, before I introduce myself, I want to first greet our school administrators. Happy School Administrators Week. I saw that on the website. My name is Ann Tansioko. I am the executive director of Kids Country, a local nonprofit organization founded by parents with the support of the district, local government, businesses, and community members. Many of these first parents, you may not know this, took out second mortgages on their own homes to fund the first buildings, childcare buildings on elementary school sites at Walt Disney, John Baldwin, and Greenbrook. We provide before and after school care, summer camp, and enrichment offerings to children and families on 15 of the 22 elementary school sites for almost 40 years. Soon we will be celebrating our very own birthday in 2025. 40 years seems to be the magic number, with the recent celebrations of the 40th anniversary of the incorporation of town of Danville last year, and then the city of San Ramon this year. And then this past Sunday, celebrating 40 years of the Run for Education hosted by San Ramon Valley Ed Foundation. I'm here today to state how proud Kids Country is to be part of the history of our community and a longtime sponsor of the Run for Education And also the upcoming auction, yes, I'm going to plug it, the upcoming auction hosted by San Ramon Rotary. Our organization hosted a booth welcoming many children and families to the event, as well as staff participating in the 5K run, including winning Best Dressed Award to our Butterflies team. You may have seen them flitting around. It was wonderful to see many of you. I do have many of you on video at the starting line, and to be part of just such a wonderful community event. It continues to be an honor as an organization to show our commitment to our community and to our school district, but more importantly, to the children we serve. Thank you for your time to speak this evening. Kids Country is truly proud to be part of the San Ramon Valley Unified School District community. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Jaden Eva, and she'll be followed by Monica Whitty and Bob Allen.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jaden and I'm a senior at Cal High. I'm a proud transgender teen and I use they, them, and he, him pronouns. I started questioning my gender identity around the time I was 12 and I came out at 14 to luckily supportive parents and a wonderful group of friends. I met with my counselor the summer before my sophomore year to put together a gender support plan. And by working with her, I was able to change my gender on district documents, change my name in the system from my birth name to Jaden, and discuss the bathroom and changing room situations. So my gender support plan allowed me to transition safely. I was able to come back to in-person school as myself. Part of the gender support plan that I didn't have to use concerns coming out to parents and how I went to do so. I didn't have to do this part because luckily I came out to a supportive household. But I'm aware of members of our community who are concerned by the fact that a child can transition at school without parents being notified beforehand. It is the unfortunate reality that not every queer child comes home every day to loving, supportive parents. Nothing can be more mentally harmful for a child than being outed before they're ready to come out. A young adult has the right to decide when they share something extremely personal and important about themselves to their parents. And at schools, notifying parents of their children's queerness strips them of their right to sharing their identity on their own time. While parents do deserve to know more about their children so they can give them proper care, I believe that parents should also respect their children's right to exist in the way that they want to and share parts of themselves on their own time. It's the right that my own parents respected when raising me, and I don't think I would have survived if they didn't give me the space to exist. Thank you.
Hey, Monica.
Good evening, trustees, Superintendent Malloy, staff. I am Monica Whitty. My husband and I moved to Danville 33 years ago because of the schools in this district. Our sons attended Monterre and Country Club Elementary and Stone Valley Middle School. When I retired from my position as an engineer at Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, I volunteered for 5 years teaching math at Oak Grove Middle School in Concord. My family and I are passionate about education and its importance to all children. This evening, I'm here representing the Danville Alamo Walnut Creek branch of the American Association of University Women. We are a local group of about 200 people affiliated with the national AAUW organization, whose mission is to advance gender equity through research, education, and advocacy. Today, I am honored to be co-president of this branch. We have a strong history of supporting education, and I'm going to give you just a few examples collected from an article written by our former branch president, Marianne Gagan, for our newsletter some years ago. As you know, Marianne herself has been an extraordinary supporter of education, serving on this board for 12 years, from 1990 to 2002. In the 70s, when our branch was newly formed, Lawrence Hall of Science had recently opened and was offering week-long staff development for teachers in science. Credentialed teachers from our branch, who were not working at the time, volunteered to substitute so that 14 district teachers could attend the week-long summer science teacher development program. Also in the 70s, after Prop 13 passed and many programs were cut. Lawrence McCauley started the Art in a Trunk project, and branch members started an after-school foreign language program. There are numerous other examples from this period, organizing an annual speech contest, helping to start and run the Expanding Your Horizons program, working with local teachers and faculty from Berkeley, Stanford, and the World Affairs Council to develop a global education program and more. In the 80s and 90s, branch members served on district curriculum and finance study committees. In the 90s, together with the San Ramon branch, we held candidate forums for school board elections. And over the years, several members were elected and served on the school board. Joan Buchanan, Joanne Erickson, Marianne Gagan, Stuart Goldware, Kia Hatch, Chris Kenber, Judy Locker, and Karen Stepper. As this abbreviated history emphasizes, we have supported local schools and this board in the past, and we commit to our future support, to you, and to honest, inclusive education for all our children. We have tremendous respect for what you bring, and thank you for what you do.
Okay, following Bob will be Mom for Education and Michael DiGiacinto.
Hello, trustees, Dr. Malloy, district staff, and community members. The almost 1,700 members of the San Ramon Valley Education Association are committed to providing the best for your students. From the kindergarten and elementary teachers who do an amazing, and to me, an incomprehensibly difficult job, to the middle school teachers who do an amazing and only slightly less difficult job, to the high school teachers and all the psychologists and counselors and librarians and all the staff that make SRVUSD the destination district that it is. The professionals of this district are here to support each and every one of the students who attend. And I reiterate yet again that means all students. It's an election year, and as a gay man of some age, I have watched groups and parties use the LGBTQ plus community as a wedge issue, as a political punching bag every 4 years. And those parties are doing it again. These people will be attacking the students that have the least recourse, the smallest set of resources to fight back. These groups will argue for parents' rights. That's a lie. The lie is parent rights are under attack. They absolutely are not. These groups use this term as an attack on queer students, pure and simple. Part of my job, part of every professional's job, is communicate with parents. I attended a Cal PTSA meeting once, and Sarah Cranford pointed to me and said, "Hey, you could be the PTSA rep." And I was like, "Sure." And I was the PTSA rep for 6 years. School site council for 3 years. I go to football games and plays and community meetings, and I enjoy back to school night, and I don't even live here. But that gives me a chance to connect with parents and guardians as much as possible. Do parents have concerns? Absolutely. And there are many official and unofficial ways to let teachers, admin, and district personnel know their concerns. But the parties that are funded under this term of supposed parents' rights, they're funded by dark money groups, right-wing institutes, and so on. They are here to bully, intimidate, and use queer kids, especially trans children, as a wedge. I urge every trustee here to resist these groups and their facade of parents' rights to attack your students. Again, every teacher, counselor, attendance clerk, office manager, lunchroom staff, and administrator in San Ramon Valley are here for your students and for all students, each and every last one of them. Now, if you'll excuse me, I do have to prep for the end of my Barbie Bungee jumping statistics unit. Thank you.
Good evening to all. I am an actual parent of a student at SRV. There seems to be a complaint crew on standby for anything that happens in this district. Some of the outrage expressed at these meetings is ill-informed, misguided, or both. Here are some realities to complain about. Swastikas on homecoming floats, students Snapchatting a physical assault of a classmate, the distribution of a flyer laced with racist innuendo. That's the last 10 days or so in our highly rated district. But we've had more over the years. Racial slurs toward Asian American and Hispanic American students, swastikas carved into desks, the N-word shouted at a sporting event, to say nothing
of the regular insults presented at these board meetings against our LGBTQ plus community members. These are the publicized events, and I'm confident they don't crack the surface of what our school communities deal with on the daily. Tonight, I have 2 points. First, I don't know who needs to hear this, but to those affected by these incidents, we see you and we support you. This community is bigger than the recent racist and hateful incidents at Cal High and all the others that go unreported. What I want the students, staff, teachers, and administrators targeted by these racist acts to hear is that their acts of hate are heinous, revealing their ignorance. Their acts of hate are meant to instill fear, revealing their weakness. And more importantly, there are more decent people in this community than not. You are not the problem. You are the future. You know better. And because you know better, our world will be better. Second, as a district parent, I'm tired of the loud crowd professing to speak for me and my family's educational concerns. There are too many of us parents who watch from the sidelines while our district is represented by outliers whose goal is to distract from the business of learning. I have a teenager who attended the hand-wringing optional choir class discussed at the board meeting last month. When I asked about it, he said that nothing in the session bothered him in any way, a sentiment echoed by a friend who was also present. In fact, I had to ask him on 5 occasions to make sure that he actually attended the same session. In no way did either of them feel demeaned, nor did they feel hurt by anything said in that classroom. And by high school, I would hope not. By high school, most students have the wherewithal to hear and to question and even research information that seems inaccurate. They also should have the autonomy and the confidence to disregard things that don't resonate with them. If a discussion about cultures and condiments bothers you, what do you say to your kids about swastikas and the N-word? I applaud the teachers who present challenging information to my kid. I thank them for broadening his perspective. I've been told the ethnic studies class at San Ramon is the best class on campus, and if my kid is willing, I will fully support him taking that class. Please continue to teach more, not less. Continue to learn more, not less. And please continue to teach our kids to widen their circle of knowledge so they can function in this ever-evolving world.
Okay, following Michael will be Dan Frank and then Allison Hagan.
Good evening. I'm Michael DiGiacinto. I'm the choir director at San Ramon Valley High School. I want to correct the record regarding a lesson that was taught in my class that was mischaracterized at the last board meeting. First, the lesson was not about white privilege, as was presented, nor was it promoting our South Africa trip, as management had falsely stated in their email to parents. And it was never said that white people have no culture, as Newsweek reported. It was a discussion about culture and ethnicity led by my colleague who teaches sociology and ethnic studies, not a random guest teacher. Yes, we talk about culture in choir, as it is in alignment with California state teaching standards. We discuss many other challenging topics as the text and context of the music demands, and yes, some of those conversations can be uncomfortable. But uncomfortable does not equal unsafe. I work extremely hard to build an environment where students feel safe to have difficult conversations. I emphasize that I'm a facilitator, not an authority with all the answers. We approach these matters with kindness, assuming good intent, and embracing the uncomfortable, because it is in this discomfort that we grow and heal. So when management's email stated that we discussed content that was not an appropriate topic for class and may have been offensive, causing harm to my students, even going as far as to offer them counseling, I felt deeply hurt, angry, and unsupported. My character and integrity were unfairly called into question, while they cowardly hid behind a board policy that does not apply to this situation. They maintain that I wouldn't have had this discussion if it were not for our trip to South Africa. That is false. After a racist incident at a basketball game last year, admin sent a message stating that this is not who we are. But to the students who endured or witnessed racist comments by their peers and other parents, this statement did not ring true, and they called on us to do better. Stop being reactive and start being proactive. They asked, how do we create a culture and a community where these things no longer happen? I took that to heart and decided choir should be a place where we actively create a school culture that is kind, inclusive, and where students of all backgrounds feel safe and accepted. This is why I chose South Africa for our first international tour together, a majority Black country that shares a history of racial segregation and, yes, has a rich choral tradition too. But our discussion on culture would have happened regardless of this tour. It's what the students demanded of us. As usual, our students led the way, sharing their personal stories to a gym full of their peers. We're also being asked by the district and state to have these conversations, but as educators, we need to know that the district has our back and will not resort to knee-jerk reactions, unceremoniously throwing us under the bus due to a single anonymous Facebook post. The superintendent said at the last board meeting, our teachers and staff members are brilliant professionals and need to be supported. What we also need to hear is you are personally committed to supporting us, even in the face of adversity. And most importantly, we need action behind these words. Thank you for your time.
Okay, next speaker is Dan Frank, followed by Allison Hagan, followed by Grace Wilford.
Good evening. I'm publicly supporting the amazing work that prison clubs are doing throughout the district and throughout California and to address the recently passed legislation in California. Prison clubs are student-run clubs that provide supportive space for LGBTQ+ students and allies to create a community. Prison Club provides a safe and healthy school climate, as well as an anti-bullying message for all students. The prison clubs in the district have 9 approved books for teachers to utilize should they choose to do so. In addition, there are 4 approved videos for the club's usage. The website lgbtqhistory.org is loaded with great instructional resources for California educators, students, and families. Prison clubs work very well to encourage students are safe, respected, and included. Recently, here's a brief summary of recently passed California laws related to education. AB 5 is the Safe and Supportive Students Act that requires all California schools in grades 7 to 12 to provide staff training to support LGBTQ+ students. The state of California is required no later than July 1st, 2025 to finalize the development of an online training curriculum to support LGBTQ+ culture competency training to teachers and all certificate staff. SB 760, the All Gender Restrooms Act, requires all public and private schools K through 12 to provide an appropriate and equitable access to gender restrooms for students during school hours. Signage on that gender restrooms must be clear and unambiguous. Every public and private school in California has until July 1st, 2025 to complete this legal requirement. AB 1078, the Safe Place to Learn Act, provides the superintendent of public education the authority to purchase textbooks for students in a school district to recoup costs and assess a financial penalty if the school board willingly chooses not to provide sufficient standards aligned with instructional materials and students. The law prohibits any school board from banning instructional materials or library books on the basis they provide inclusive and diverse perspectives in compliance with state law and the education code. Lastly, as the father of a Cal High senior, I want to publicly acknowledge Demetrius Ball, Cal High principal, for his remarkable leadership during the recent racist incidents that affected the homecoming parade and some on-campus incidents. He has been an amazing school leader during an incredibly challenging time. Thank you.
Allison Hagan? She had to leave. Okay, well, I'll put her down in the other stack in case she comes back. Grace Wilford, and then we'll add one more to fill in for Allison. So Bruce Enns will follow. Grace.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Grace Wilford, and I was in attendance to the access discussion. On September 8th, I received an email asking if the discussion was harmful for students. but it wasn't. The real harm is not from an open discussion about culture. It's what I hear in the halls every day. Just walking through the B hall to my history class yesterday, I heard at least 3 racial or homophobic slurs and countless numbers of rude comments by classmates. The real harm is that I was scared that night and many other nights after that my teacher was going to be in serious trouble and possibly going to lose his job, yet I didn't understand why. The harm is being pulled out of my AP English class the next day to be a part of an investigation about one of my favorite teachers, while feeling manipulated to say that the reason we spoke about culture was not because high school students need help to reduce the ignorance and hate at our school, but asking if my teacher was promoting a trip. I have spent the last few weeks in fear that my teacher, Mr. DG, would face repercussions, yet I know he did nothing wrong. I have read ridiculous news articles quoting false facts and narrative about a school and a community that I am a part of. But why did the adults and the people who oversee my school and our district handle this situation exactly the way we kids are taught not to address problems? Since when should I blast my opinionated information on social media instead of directly emailing the teacher to ask what happened in the classroom? When will the teachers start to model the behaviors they teach? And when will we be honest about the racism in our community and openly discuss these issues? When will the adults apologize publicly and admit that they have made mistakes? After the last few weeks of stress and misinformation, I can only question why our leadership is attempting to keep us from talking about these issues. When just last year, we had the very same assemblies and important access conversations about racism in our community regarding a racist incident at the basketball game. We all stand with DG to learn about culture, especially surrounding the cultures of music that we sing in class.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here to talk about Mr. Gigi's impact on me. There's so much to say, but so little time. The moment I walked in the choir room was the moment my life changed forever. Mr. Gigi has helped me find community. The most important thing I would take away from choir is the everyday experiences and friendships I would never have without it. As you can tell, my voice is gone because this weekend we took an unforgettable trip to the Santa Cruz Mountains, full of singing and activities I'll remember for the rest of my life. This trip not only made me a better singer, but also a better person. This trip allowed me to strengthen my friendships and truly bond with the community. I can experience firsthand how strong Mr. Gigi's relationships with the students are on a personal and music level. I can say that he is my safe adult on campus. Mr. Gigi's relationships with the students are on a personal and musical level. I can say that he is my safe adult on campus. When I heard this meeting was allowing speakers, I immediately knew I had to write something, because of how much I care about DG and the choir community he has built from the ground up. Every day, I have something to look forward to during 5th period, and that is choir. Words can't describe how excited I am to continue the next 2 years with Mr. DG as my choir teacher and further my music career. Thank you.
Thank you to all our speakers. We're going to continue with our agenda, but once we're through the action items, we will come back to get the remaining cards, okay? If you still wish to speak. Okay, so next item is association president's reports. Invite up Tammy Castelluccio from CSEA.
Good evening. I'm Tammy Castelluccio, president of CSEA. CSEA would like to wish site administrators a great week to celebrate the week that they do for our students, staff, and community. We appreciate all of your hard work that you support all of us in the district. CSEA and the district are going back to the table for negotiations on Thursday to finish up all of the reclassification requests from last year. And we're hopeful that we will reach tentative agreement. Thank you.
Well, that was quick. And do we have a representative from Serbia? Hi, Linda.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Melinda Daly, and I'm Vice President of the San Ramon Valley Education Association. I'm filling in tonight for SRVUSD President Laura Finko. She is unfortunately dealing with a family emergency and could not be here. I had so many notes on this piece of paper, and I've just, as the night has continued, I've just crossed off and edited, and I'm calling a little bit of an audible, which I hope Laura's not watching and hyperventilating. But I just wanted to remind everybody that the educators that you heard from tonight, they are Servia. We are all Servia, and they represent the best of us. And I'm so grateful for them being here and sharing their stories and their experiences with all of you. With that, I will go back to the prepared remarks. And I do want to make sure the board is clear that Servia is continuing to do whatever it takes to support our students day in and day out, despite the ever-growing list of challenges in public education. We've seen the results of these efforts highlighted with 30 and 30 alumni recognition, the recent US News and World Report rankings, which show the rest of the country what we already know, that San Ramon Valley Unified is a great place to go to school. However, there's still a lot of work to be done, and we are, as always, ready to rise to the occasion. For example, we know that our special education community is in critical need of support, which is why Servia just reached an agreement with management that outlines procedures on how to address temporary vacancies in SPED positions. We know that this is only a Band-Aid, but it is a step in the right direction. Band-Aids are necessary right now, but we also need long-term solutions. This is why we're looking forward to sitting down with management again in the coming weeks to reiterate our commitment of attracting and retaining the best educators and improving working and learning conditions. We ask again that our community trust and partner with us so that we can collaboratively provide the best for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. And then next we have our student board member report.
So the Equity Steering Committee met this month, and it was great to be a part of that space of community members, teachers, staff, students, as always. And we were encouraged to think about our ideal world and the skills we would want all students to have. So within the breakout room I was a part of, that led to conversations on going beyond simply tolerance and coexistence and really wanting to learn about people's different cultures and their backgrounds, religions, and complexities of who they are. Which it was just so wonderful to be a part of that conversation. And then the Equity Steering Committee is also now having a 30-minute pre-meeting for students prior to the meeting with all of the committee members, just so that student voice is really highlighted and it's not diluted when you are in that larger space with oftentimes, 60 plus people. And, the big takeaway I got from that is that when students report incidents of hate or anything they notice on campus that they want administration to be aware of, it's important for those students to know that something is being done. And that doesn't mean you have to divulge confidential information, but rather it more looks like a check-in, maybe like an administrator following up with that student that they've heard, taken into consideration what the student has said, how, they're going about looking into it, and they're taking appropriate action. And I think, as we encourage students to really, if they see something or hear something on campus, to report it, I think it's important that students know that their voice is being heard and that it's valuable. I was able to attend the Facilities Master Plan Committee last week and get some updates on that, so that was nice. Student Senate met yesterday, and the senators were able to share with Dr. Malloy, and also just gain more insight into how the district functioned and how the district is approaching pressing issues. A lot of the conversation focused on academics and making healthy choices around workload, which is always, a difficult conversation, and there really is no right answer, and it involves, input from multiple groups on how we're going to handle that as a community. But I was able to share a little bit with the student senators about the grading reform committee. Last year, I was able to bring a couple of them on board to the committee as a student panel, and a lot of them chose to join and share their insights continually. So I'm glad I got to extend that same opportunity to the student senators this year, and a lot of them are considering that so they can be involved in discussions on how assessments are being done and assessed, and how it reflects student learning. And finally, I'm excited to say that I will be offering monthly student trustee office hours, which is something I really am excited to do. I was able to coordinate some of the final details out with Ms. McSweeney today, and I just wanted to thank her for her support. I don't know if she's here in the room, but
So the dates we have as of now are November 16th and December 21st. And I'm really hoping for this to be an opportunity for students to share ideas with me that they would like me to relay to the board or to relevant district staff, or for me to even give them those connections so they can reach out and share, at committees and with staff on issues that they're passionate about, or even come to board meetings and share. And also just clarifying kind of what the board does and what's in the district's jurisdiction and some of the actions that are being taken. What I've seen with student voice and what I found is that the biggest barrier to the district student relationship is that students don't really know exactly what the district does, what their priorities are, and how they're supporting students. So I'm really hoping for this to be an opportunity to clarify, to gain insights, and for more students, not just this year, but in the coming years, for this hopefully to be something that future student trustees carry on, for this to really be a channel of communication and a way for students to thoroughly be involved with the district in decision making.
Thank you, Anya. Okay, now superintendent's report.
Thanks, President Hurd, and bear with me because I've actually put aside all of the notes that I wrote for tonight, and I'm reflecting on the experience in this room. And so I'm going to go off the cuff. Each month we're here, and depending upon who chooses to be with us, the room can sometimes be filled with very, very different perspectives. And I appreciate that because sitting in our seats, we have a pretty decent handle on how our families across this district feel, think, and believe. And I thought about this on the weekend because last week in particular, for many in our community, for a lot of reasons, was very tough. And as I've thought about the last 3 years and a bit in this boardroom, we've done too much. We've done too little. We've not responded. We have responded. And a sign of division from my seat is when the exact same decisions cause diametrically opposite reactions, and someone's got to wear it. And so I accept that it's usually us. We don't always get it right. And clearly there's concerns that have been shared tonight, and I appreciate those. And for Mr. DiGiancento, I don't know you personally, but I will tell you that I've heard about your amazing program, and I mean that sincerely. But as I think about it, and board, I share this with you, and I'm sharing it with the community too, and I know I'm supposed to be directing this to you, but I've thought a lot about the difference between a battleground and an environment that helps us fulfill our commitment, which is all kids safe, cared for, respected, and included. That's not a buzzword for all of those who hear me say that a lot, because I've been challenged. That's a buzzword. It's not a buzzword. It's not a buzz phrase. It's actually what we believe. And as much as it may look like we don't always get it right, I accept that. And I'm actually apologizing for it because I'm the kind of person personally, and I know us collectively, that would like to actually have everybody be okay. But that's not the reality in the times we're in. Hard decisions are interpreted in different ways. And the discussion we had at our cabinet today is that, and again, I'm sharing this just to be as candid as possible, it feels like a ping pong match that depending upon who's speaking is sending our attention intensely. It may appear that we're being reactive, and I get that. But I want to share with our public that we do listen to everybody. That doesn't mean that we will be able to agree with everybody, because it's impossible. So what we are asking for is that our staff does engage our students on really important matters impacting them personally and beyond. We have a few guardrails for it, and you've heard me say it consistently. Age appropriate is really important, and we got to think about that, because sometimes that's the issue. Ensuring that we're creating an environment where our kids can think, even when they disagree with the educator, has got to be okay. Doesn't mean we want it to arise to a place where it crosses lines. I get that that's our job. It's got to be okay for us to create space where we don't always agree. A conversation I had with a community leader today, when he asked, how can we help? I said, and I'm a former counselor, I think many of you know that. It appears that we've lost the ability to be in the same room with people who disagree with us and actually come out of that conversation better for being in it. I'm hoping that our kids have that option. And I'm hoping that our staff feels supported in that option. But I'm also going to name what we're hearing, which is if we can't bring down the temperature on this debate, we're going to lose good people. And I know that as a superintendent working with our district, I just want our community to know that even when we don't get it right, we care, we're trying, we're human. We want our district to be the best place it can be for our students. And I mean that. So we're going to keep doing the work. We're going to keep listening. I've asked Cabinet today for the next 3 months, we are just going to be out as much as we can. We get out a lot. I mean, we are literally in schools every week, but we're going to get out and try to figure out how to keep listening to students and staff and our parents and community. Because right now, we aren't all on the same page, and that's okay because that's normal. But how can we get the majority of us to agree to a couple of principles in our strategic directions that I think everybody gets? Kids need to be supported. Kids need opportunities to learn deeply. Kids need to be supported to be the best they can be. Staff need the conditions to make it effective and good. And our families have to feel like they're partners with us. And some don't. Even if we think we're trying, some have shared they don't. So my ask for anyone who's listening, my ask to the board, my ask to everybody who's taken the time to be here, thank you. I appreciate you. But we got to figure out how together to move this to a place where it's not just the district who can fix this. We're just part of the community, an important part. And those of us who lead it in formal roles are a part of the community, an important part. But the majority of emails are asking me what I'm going to do about it. Or sometimes what we're going to do about it. And I'm going to share publicly, we can't do anything about it without everybody, or at least the majority of people, not agreeing always, but at least committed to working together differently. So we will, as a district team, continue to try to do better, leading in this polarized space. I'm not going to make promises that we're always going to get it right, but we're going to try. We'll try to communicate more effectively when there is tension in the community, but I'll end the way I started. This room is a perfect example of it can be one major voice one week and another major voice another week. And our job is not to be tossed by that. Our job is to be clear about the guiding principles that ground us and do the best we can to move forward. So I just want to thank everybody who's been here before, who's here tonight, and I thank you for letting me go off any script and share exactly what I'm feeling at this moment in response to all of the comments that are in it.
Thank you. Okay, now we're at our action items, which also have public hearings with them. So the first one is consideration of adoption of resolution 48 in support of course-based independent study. Christine Guajardo.
Yes, thank you. Annually, we bring forward a list of the classes that are certified by the Board of Education under Venture Independent Study. So this evening we have Principal Castellano, who is here, but this is an annual thing that we do. And in your packet, you will see the resolution and a copy of the courses that she is currently offering at Venture for approval. She is here. If you would like to ask her any questions regarding the coursework that she's offering, here she comes right now. She does deserve a round of applause.
Turning the mic on and then off. Anyone have any questions?
I think I answered them all last year, so I think we're good. I'm just kidding.
Well, I think the documentation was really, really clear. I don't have any questions. Anyone else? Okay, let's have a motion to approve the adoption of the resolution.
I'll make the motion to approve the adoption of the resolution.
I'll second.
The motion was made by Board Member Bratt and seconded by Board Member Van Zee. Roll call vote, Student Board Member Iapan.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for all your support for alternative ed. Really appreciate you.
Okay, item 11.2 is consideration of approval of board policies and administrative regulations. It's a whole bunch of stuff all packaged together
Yes, it is.
related to excused absences and truancy and all that. We put it all together so that the discussion could be kind of holistic. And then if you'd like to vote on anything separately, we can, or I've now learned we can vote on it all together if there are no concerns. So Christine, take it away.
Sure, absolutely. I wanted to start off by just saying that this is a revision to our current board policy 5113 around absences and excuses and 5113.1 chronic absence and truancy. Dave Kravitz, who is our student services coordinator, is absent this evening. He is ill, but I do have Sasha Lubkin and John Campopiano here with me this evening. And as President Hurd stated, this is just revisions to current CSBA language and to make the policy a little bit more clear in terms of our current practice. So there's a lot of information in here this evening. So we wanted to take the time to let you kind of go through it and ask any questions of us.
It's taking me a moment to get, my new system up to see if I'd made any notes to myself, but did anybody else have any notes that they made in the docs?
No, I think I already talked to Christine about maybe it's a little grammatical thing, but I read through.
And it seems like it's kind of actually expanding on what can be considered an excused absence. Is that correct?
It's aligning better with
Okay.
the state ed code that parallels it. It's not actually changing our practice significantly. Because up to this point, our sites have been going by what is in ed code as well as what has been in our board policy.
Yeah.
So it's just making sure that that information is the same.
Okay.
And the last revision was done in 2016. So that's partly why we're here this evening, just to bring this to current.
Yeah. And just to educate me when defining an unexcused absence and an excused absence and its an impact on ADA.
We don't get ADA for excused or unexcused.
And that's a good question, Jesse, because a lot of people don't understand that. And it's a really important, thing. So the excused, unexcused has to do with makeup work can be done or things like that and related to kind of what happens at school, but the ADA is off the table.
Yeah.
Does she have anything else?
That's it.
I made one note in the AR on the excused absences, how it, delineates them. In number 3, it says medical, dental, optometrical or chiropractic appointment. And I wondered if mental health related appointments, like say the only time someone could see a counselor was during the school day, would that count?
Yes.
Should we?
Yes, it would count, and we can specify that, but it would count.
Because I know there was new legislation that made mental health an excused absence, but it wasn't about appointments. And so I just wondered about the nexus
We
there.
captured that under the medical portion, but we can be more specific if you
Okay. I just think it might be helpful in terms of clearly communicating that.
I thank you, Assistant Superintendent Kemp. I believe it is under number 1. President Hurd, it does say students' mental health or behavioral health.
So an appointment would count.
Then an
in that too.
appointment would-
Okay.
Yes.
It's kind of odd that they're separate, but yeah. Okay. So as long as it's clear, I mean, not that everybody sits down and reads our policies, but if you're trying to open the door that we're trying to be more open to all of this stuff, I think being clear is good. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, what about on the resolution? There's a resolution 43. the verification methods for student absences?
Yes, so we need to bring forth two resolutions that we have yet to ever bring forth regarding verification methods and religious exercise or instructional attendance. And so we're required to bring those forward once and to be captured in the minutes. And those are resolutions that just state and verify that those particular situations are excused absences, and the resolutions spell those out. And I can quickly summarize for you to help you along here. The last one is the chronic absenteeism and truancy. And that is again, just spelling out the steps that we take prior to a SARB process in which we communicate with students and families and school in terms of the series of events that take place prior to having to come forth to a SARB panel. And Sasha, our outstanding attendance TSA, leads that work. And so I do want to take the moment to just recognize her. She's done an outstanding job this year. And has brought a fantastic lens in terms of supporting kids, SEL support. And again, this BPAR spells that out in a little bit more detail than it has in years past.
This may be the same grammatical thing that Susanna caught, but it's in 5113.1, the chronic absence and truancy BP. The third
Yes.
paragraph.
Yes.
We just missed a verb there.
Yes,
Okay.
I believe it was
Perfect.
provide.
Same one. Never
Yes.
mind. Okay. I don't have anything else. We have a motion. Do you want to approve all of them together? I think it's simpler. Okay. Who wants to make?
I move to approve the board policies and administrative regulations 5113 and 5513.1 and resolution 43/2324. Anymore?
And 44.
And 44/2324.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you.
The motion was made by Board Member Ordway and seconded by Board Member Bratt. Roll call vote, Student Board Member Iapan.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. This brings us to item 11.3, consideration of approval of employment agreement for superintendent. So as we begin this, I want to explain that this was actually a reopening of Dr. Malloy's current contract. And that was because at the end of last spring, the board had some things that we wanted to discuss with him. And the timing was such that it didn't work to do that negotiation before the last meeting of the year. So we went ahead and approved his contract with the understanding that we were going to reopen it. And we created a subcommittee that was made up of Trustee Jessie Van Zee and Trustee Shelley Clark that did some initial research. And then that was handed off to a different subcommittee, which included Shelley representing the two of them, and then me as board president. And then we met with district attorney and Dr. Malloy and negotiated this contract. And so I just want to frame it that this was something that Dr. Malloy did not have to do, but allowed us as trustees to hear our community, hear our union partners about concerns that they had related to the superintendent's contract. So I need to read the detail of what changed because that's the official way this goes. And I hope as you all watching at home or in the room, listen to what changed, really can kind of see that this is a win for everybody. Okay, so the current employment agreement of the superintendent expires on June 30th, 2026. To maintain consistency and stability in district leadership, to update the superintendent's employment agreement and to reflect current best practices in executive employment and to highlight fiscal responsibility, the district and superintendent have agreed to reopen and renegotiate the attached employment agreement. The salient features of the attached employment agreement are as follows. The agreement is for a fixed period of time. That is from July 1st, 2023, so backing up a few months, through June 30th, 2027. There are no automatic extensions. The salary effective July 1st, 2023 is $403,896 annually. There is no automatic Me Too clause and no longevity step payment in this agreement. The superintendent would receive a 3% salary increase on July 1st of each year of the agreement unless the bargaining units got less than a 3% increase in the previous year. Then the superintendent would get the same percentage increase that the bargaining unit received in that previous year. For 2023-24, there would be no increase in the superintendent's salary, even though the bargaining units have not agreed to any increases for 23-24 school year. On July 1st, 2024, the terms of the new employment agreement would call for a 3% increase for the 24-25 school year, unless the bargaining units settle for less than 3% for 23-24. Then the superintendent would be entitled to the less than 3% increase percentage that the unions received in the previous year. That was really confusing for me to understand as I read it, so I think I want to explain what it meant. It means the superintendent's increase would be the following July of when the rest of staff get it. Usually in this district, we negotiate in the time frame coming up pretty soon, and the raises are all retroactive to the previous July. The superintendent would be following a year behind. Okay. Effective July 1st, 2024, the superintendent will stop incurring any vacation days. He will identify a positive work year and work those days. Should there be a need for additional work days, the board president would approve those at the superintendent's per diem rate. All vacation days accrued this year will be used and excised according to the law. The superintendent's vacation balance on July 1st, 2024 will be less than or same as June 30th, 2023. This agreement caps the district's incurring of additional unfunded liability by eliminating accrual of additional vacation days. There are no changes to any health and welfare benefits or any other stipends, allowances, or annuity payments under the new employment agreement. Okay. Any board members want to add additional comments?
Yeah, I'll just make a few comments. So like Rachel was saying, this is a win all the way around. We heard from the community, we heard from teachers, bargaining units, and from people in the community with some issues that they had with the current contract. One thing I will back up to say though, is Dr. Malloy was not given an option on what his contract was going to look like when he joined the district. It was the condition of him accepting the job. We had kind of a boilerplate agreement. And so I also want to thank Dr. Malloy for entering in good faith in a discussion where it's kind of risky when you're opening back up a contract for a negotiation. And we felt confident to have that conversation with him. Many things about this contract is a much more modernized contract. And we worked really hard with our lawyers to make sure that it was brought up to date, including, the transition to a positive work calendar versus the accrual of vacation days, which that can create a funding liability for the district, which is something that we wanted to address. And Dr. Malloy was great at working with us on that as well too. So I saw some reports that were out on social media, and I think there might have been some confusion around what we were doing here tonight. This was not another extension. This is the same extension that we had already voted on back in August. Was that when we did that? In June. So we had already had that extension. It's the same date. And then also it also ensures that Dr. Malloy, he's not going to be getting a percentage increase greater than any bargaining unit. So I think that creates parity between those things. And it gives a lot of clarity to it, and it simplifies it in many ways. There's not any hidden little stipends or loopholes or things that are tucked in there. So it's a very transparent and modernized update. And Dr. Malloy, thank you for entering into that conversation with us.
And I want to reiterate that because Dr. Malloy didn't have to do any of this, but this has been something that the Me Too has always bothered me. And when I took office, it was one of the things that I wanted to work on. And I had to educate myself about how most districts in the state do the Me Too. And for those of you that don't know what that is, basically that means that when the teachers get a raise, then automatically the superintendent and the assistant superintendents get a raise. So we started with the superintendent and he was willing to reopen this with us, which again, he didn't have to do. But I think that this is a much better contract for the district. Seeing that in this last year, we had an 8% increase, and when you a COLA from the state. So when you multiply that by the high numbers that deservedly so that the superintendent has as a salary, that's a lot of money at one time. So in order to equalize that, it was important to me to be fiscally responsible with the district's money, yet make sure that we maintain our great leadership. And through this contract, we were able to do that. Having no unfunded liability with vacation pay, which is another big piece. Dr. Malloy was very gracious in accommodating a lot of our requests in this contract. So I just want to be clear that some of the things that were put out in the news media today about pay increases or whatever, that's not what's happening here. As it's actually the opposite. We are putting a cap on what he will be able to keep accruing over the years. So I feel good about it. I thank him for his indulgence of us and being so gracious about entering into this, because I think it's better for the district. And as we move forward, we'll be looking at these things. I come, like Jesse does, from a business background, and in the corporate world, in the business world, it's very different than public education. But I think some changes needed to be made in the way that we do these contracts. So I just wanted everybody to be clear about that it's not a pay increase. It's a totally different contract, and I think it benefits the district and all of our students.
Yeah, I also wanted to thank actually, our subcommittee, Jesse and Shelley, for the research that you did to start this process. And then, of course, moving on to with our attorneys and with Rachel and Shelley. Also want to thank, of course, Dr. Malloy, because like everyone's saying, he didn't have to do this. He didn't have to open, right? This is actually, again, limiting certain, certain elements of your contract. So thank you. But by doing that, you're actually following our strategic directions of equity and being a role model for that. So I thank you for doing that for our district.
Yeah, and I want to ditto all of that, and just kind of mention that, one of the things that I think our job is, and I think we've been doing pretty well, is we're looking at our policies and we're strengthening them, and I think this has been an opportunity to do that. One of the struggles that I've had, and Shelley alluded to, and I think we've all had, is this idea of Me Too, and how does that really fit from it? That's more equality rather than equity. So really being able to break it down a little bit more, separate it. And this allows for a cleaner contract. It seems like, from what I understand previously, there was this blanket approach of, this is the contract and we're not going to change it and this is what it is. And that doesn't allow us to really look at the individual needs of the person that's under contract, look at the needs of the district, and how the collaboration of those two can be a win-win for everybody, when it's just, this is what it is and this is what you get and this is what we get. And so this allows us to kind of break it apart and rebuild it. And I really, really appreciate, as everyone else has voiced, you giving us the opportunity really to be able to do this in a collaborative and positive way, as opposed to a negative and argumentative way. So I think that this really is a win-win for everyone, because it allows us to look at each contract individually. So thank you.
So with that, may we have a motion to approve it?
I'll make a motion to approve the new contract for the superintendent.
I'll second.
The motion was made by Board Member Clark and seconded by Board Member Van Zee. Roll call vote, Student Board Member Iapan.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd. Aye. The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, that brings us to our additional action item of 11.4, which was 13.10. So is that go to first to Melanie probably, because the first policy was under her area? The Family Care and Medical Leave Act.
Yes, thank you, Rachel. So this evening, we're bringing forward the revisions to two board policies, one on certification regarding credentials, and the other is with respect to family care and medical leave. And as you probably are aware, we brought the first read of the revisions to these policies last board meeting in September. And this is really to update our board policy and administrative regulations, because both of these policies and regulations have been pretty outdated. This is to bring them in alignment with the recommendations by CSBA. I believe the last updates to these were 2016. And so it's been quite some time. So we wanted to make sure that we are making sure that we're modernizing them and making sure that they are in alignment with all of the statutory requirements.
And the reason these were on consent was because when we saw them on first reading, we didn't have any comments at all. So can we have a motion? Well, I guess we should do two motions. So let's hold off. Any questions for Melanie before we jump to the other one? Okay, thank you. Now the other one is related to childcare, and
I'll start this.
John's gonna start.
Thank you, President Hurd. So I asked to move this agenda item into action actually for this particular one. Our recommendation to you is that you will pass the one that Melanie just shared and actually not pass the one that is before you tonight. Assistant Superintendent Kemp will speak to this clearly, but the reason I wanted us to move it, and thank you for your indulgence, is that it came to our attention through community discussions this weekend that the intention that we were trying to move forward on with the policy was sending a message that we didn't wish to engage our community. That is not the case. And so in order to ensure that we do not have that confusion, we pulled it. Assistant Superintendent Kemp will speak to it, and then we're actually asking you not to take action so that we can bring it back to you 2 more times as we normally do in terms of public information, followed by the decision in any policy or admin regulation where we're considering considerable change. So with that introduction, I'll turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Kemp.
Thank you, Dr. Malloy. Next slide, please. So good evening, trustees. I want to present to you tonight the conundrum that we find ourselves in with our policy manual. Our current policy manual has 2 policies, has board policy 1712, which it relates to childcare providers on elementary school campuses. And this was a local policy that was adopted back in 2000 and was reviewed in 2016. There are no ARs associated with that policy regarding the implementation of it. And it was a policy that was used last spring to guide us in the RFP process that we engaged in. The policy is written almost identical to Board Policy 5148. 5148 and AR 5148, child care and development, are related to district operated school age childcare programs, which the district does not operate. And this is where the confusion lies. Additionally, the AR that is related to it is quite complex and very difficult to implement. So we need to clean this up. And so if we go to the next slide, please. So I just want to reiterate that the policy is fine. We have a few small changes that we're going to recommend to this, but we just need one. We just need one policy that is related to the elementary school childcare centers that we operate, that they're not district operated. They're at lease agreements with outside vendors. And so we'll be bringing this back to the board to clarify that exactly board policy 1712 is the more appropriate policy for the board to consider.
So will 5148 actually just go away?
I think it should.
Okay.
Yes, that would.
Or that's the plan at this
Yeah,
point.
that's a plan. So now the AR, and I want to just talk a little bit philosophically about the AR. So the development of any kind of administrative regulation, in this case in particular, is a balancing act between the system of the district and the school approach to childcare. We need to balance what the schools want and need, along with the responsibility of the board to act as a board with the oversight and operations, which is your role. We understand that parents and staff who use school-age childcare programs desire a high-quality program that is reliable and that is a provider who has the capacity to meet the needs of the community. And I'll talk to you about how we figure that out in just a minute. The board has a responsibility to ensure that the voices are heard regarding the qualities and qualifications of providers as they take the recommendations from the staff for school-age childcare program providers. The current AR is too granular. It places priority on a step-by-step process over program quality. And I want to talk a little bit about the program quality. So it includes a process that asks that we convene a committee that has a principal, 2 teachers, 3 parents in childcare, 3 parents not in childcare, and a purchasing director. It further requires a parent survey. It requests proposals and interviews. It requires a physical plan to be developed by the district's facilities department with the school principal. It's quite a lot. And we want the selection of the childcare provider to be based on qualifications and quality of the childcare provider, not on the adherence to this really unyielding list that doesn't necessarily add to the quality of the program and is not necessarily needed at this point in time based on where our childcare programs are. And so, I mean, just think about trying to calendar for 4 sites or 5 sites or 6 sites or 19 sites, these massive committees. So there's a better way to do that. And so ultimately we want to make sure that we have quality care at our sites, a process that seeks to that end. And at the next meeting, we'll bring back the AR and outline the process for identification of potential providers. We want the board to know that we'd like to streamline the AR and make sure there's a place for voice from the school community, because that is absolutely important to us. And that is my recommendation.
So just in closing, again, our advice or recommendation would be that we take this back, do the work that Stella suggested, and come back next meeting.
We do have one card on the item, so I want to invite Heather Sturts to come up and speak if you still wish to. Okay. And it will be a multi-step process. We'll first kind of see the first time, and then there'll be feedback, and then we won't approve it till the following month. Okay.
Just a quick question, Stella. So you mentioned elementary school, 6th grade. I know with the ELOP.
Yeah, ELOP is a little bit different. Yes,
ELOP doesn't count as childcare, correct?
that's correct.
Okay. All right. So with that, the childcare part's being tabled, but we do need to approve the board policy and administrative regulation that Melanie spoke to us about. So can we have a motion to approve that? It's 2 things.
I will make a motion for to approve consideration of adoption of revisions, board policies and administrative regulations for BPAR 4112.2 and AR 41618.8, 4261.8, 4361.8.
Yeah, that's interesting how those numbers
Family
are
care,
not
I
a
think
normal sequence.
Yeah.
Okay.
I said that up, but
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Cindy?
The motion was made by Board Member Bratt and seconded by Board Member Ordway. Roll call vote, Student Board Member Iapan.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, and then there was another item that we moved from consent to action on Jesse's request, and that was 13.7. Yes. Is now going to be 11.5. So go ahead.
So just in discussion of what I want to discuss, on this tonight is from time to time, we get asked to approve textbooks for curriculum. And we're always given a list and we get a month to review that, and the community can review that. Anybody can come review that. They can check the books out. And so what I typically do as a board member is I will do just a cursory search on to see if anything pops out that I should be looking into in greater detail. And so that's what I did with this one. And I just wanted to address one book that's on here for seeking approval. And this is not to be put in the library. This is to actually be multiple copies purchased and assigned in class. So there's a book called Tomorrow, Tomorrow, and Tomorrow. And on the consent item, it's being requested to be put forward as a contemporary novel to supplement the English 12 curriculum and support healthy reading and writing. And this book can also be a standalone at any time during the year. And so as I do with all these textbooks, I review them and I make a judgment on them. And as I was doing that, there was a few concerning things that kept popping up as I was looking into this book. So what I typically do, and it's not often that happens. So I decided to read the book myself cover to cover because I really wanted to make a fair judgment call on it, not just take people's comments online. So I will say the book is fairly dark. It has many themes that will be offensive to many, but not all, including lots of sexual content. There's an affair between a teenage college student who's the main character and her professor. Deals with the topic of abortion, lots of drug use, depression, suicide. And to cap it off, there's a handful of scenes where the main character reluctantly engages in S&M sexual experiences with her older boyfriend, who used to be her professor. And the depictions are graphic enough to be disturbing. And I would also say just my own personal takeaway is as I was reading it, it's a pretty depressing book. So I would say if you're already struggling with a mental health issue, maybe not the best book to be reading. So that's a concern of mine as well. So when I approve something called, that we're going to call a textbook, I have to ask if it's strong enough academic value to be added in and codified as an approved text. I've had some great professional dialogues. So this is not just, I didn't just shotgun this. I really approached this with, all right, help me understand the why of why this is being put on. And I can say that it was great discussions. And I would also say to our public that these books aren't just added on in a short process. They're not just thrown on there. It's a very thoughtful, thorough process. And the people who add these to this list are very well versed in the content of the books and everything that's going into that. But then also my thoughtful review as a publicly elected official is to ask, does it rise to this level where we're now going to call this a textbook? And so my last comment would be, it's often said that books are mirrors and windows, and we've heard that a lot. And I do believe that to be true. So it's mirrors to see a reflection of yourself, or it's a window to look over and peer into somebody else's soul that you can try to find understanding in. And the only thing I would say that we need to consider, and I am considering as a board member, is just how dark those mirrors and windows are that we're asking our students to peer into. And so for me, this book is a no. All the other four I'm fine with approving.
So this book is only potentially, right, for grade 12. Okay, so really only a high school seniors, or is it some,
I'm going to let Debbie Pettis, our executive director, talk about the exact proposal she has in front of her.
Yes, so Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow was put forward by San Ramon Valley High School teacher for use in 12th grade. But once it is approved, in theory, it could be used at any high school grade level. With that being said, we do ask that our teachers use the selection criteria that we brought forward in February. And they are, and I really want to emphasize this, they are, they have degrees, of course, in English and in teaching high school students. They know not only the California state standards, but the district-wide essential standards. And this particular teacher brought it forward because she felt that it was, they didn't have enough novels from female authors, contemporary novels that really reflected at least like some of the experiences that high school seniors do have.
And I'm just going to add, if I can take it up to the policy level. So just to confirm that at present, the process we follow is when a proposal comes forward, using the tools to determine if it's age appropriate. Common Sense Media is our major one, but we use others as well. And we were talking about how we might be able to make those tools more available to our community so that they could have access to. Secondly, if it does meet that particular threshold, we actually then invite our staff to consider how students have some voice and choice, is what we say, in terms of the curriculum materials that we share. So that especially if there are some sensitivities that can be dealt with at that level. The third part of our process is that if a student or families are uncomfortable, there's a process that starts with the teacher, moves to the principal, moves to the district staff, and frankly, could even come to you. So that is the process we follow. That is the process you're aware of. And when we are dealing with that at cabinet level, we're listening also to our teachers, who Debbie said have the professional judgment when they bring that forward. So I wanted to put that into a context that that's kind of the overarching strategy we use regardless of the book that we're speaking about.
So, and I want to say, this is a book that actually has been on my list for a while. And when I saw it, I thought I should probably start reading it. I haven't finished it yet. I'm probably about a third of the way through. My opinion is that it's not so dark as of yet. As again, I haven't finished the whole book. I think that I'm really enjoying it. I'll admit that.
I'm not saying it's a bad book or
yeah,
not
yeah.
well written.
Right. It has main characters that are a diverse, a strong female character, very intelligent. It's based around gaming and around creativity and around collaboration and working together. There probably are moments that I haven't gotten to yet, which maybe what might make people uncomfortable. But that's, part of a book is an opportunity to be able to see other people's perspectives without having to experience them. And I think that that's valuable. And I would like to point out that our teachers are experts, and I appreciate when they do the due diligence in deciding what books to put forth for high school.
When I think about my son in 12th grade, he probably knew more about that stuff than I did. I haven't read the book, but based on what you're saying, and again, the process that we use and that our teacher librarians and our teachers have are professionals and have their finger on the pulse of our students and where they are, what they need. And I do trust their judgment, not blindly, but this type of book doesn't really concern me, because I think that, again, as Laura mentioned, I think seeing other diverse views, different experiences that people have, I don't think any of it would be really shocking to my kids. I don't know, maybe my kids are different than others, but that's just my perspective on it. So thanks.
I don't think your kids are alone, especially at the 12th grade level. And I would also just add that I've been in classes, AP level English classes where we've read books containing sexual content, containing, dark messages too. And, I've always had teachers who handle it very thoughtfully. And it's first conversation and, because, we have been having a lot of discussions about books. I've been extending these kind of questions to students in the discussions I've had, and I've heard similar views on how their teachers are handling things. So I just wanted to put that out there too.
One other thing, and that is that them being able to read and see these experiences through a book gives the teacher the opportunity to actually explore some of these things with the kids and talk through some of these issues and some of the problems that they might have. So it can be an opportunity to educate also, I believe.
And I'm not trying to be disagreeable, but there's a lot of parents that don't want their teachers discussing S&M practices with their children. And so as I read through this, and Debbie, you and I have had some great conversations on it, it comes down to a few things. There's absolutely right. I don't know of any teacher that I know of that wouldn't handle this appropriately, but it's the what do I know now and what's on this piece of paper and what am I voting for? We have a kind of internal hope and policy that a kid wouldn't have to be made to read a book if they don't want to. Most students that I know, myself included, once you get to the part that maybe is starting to bend you in the wrong way, you're just going to finish the book because you don't have much more time to go get a new book and start it over again. I don't think that I could look somebody in the eye if they did have a strong offense to this book and realize that I put my name on it after reading it. And that's why I decided to read it cover to cover, because there is enough stuff for me. And I don't expect that you guys read it all, Laura. I don't want to give you any spoiler alerts, but I'm happy to read a spot that really kind of just then threw me down the wrong path if you guys want me to, so that you can know what we're approving or not approving.
I think that we know that though things pulled out of context kind of shift the message. So I would be uncomfortable with you pulling out a.
But it's still the context, and it's a context of a woman being abused by somebody who has a position of power over her, of which she does not have any resolution to that in the book. And I do have a problem with that. There's something that I do not react well to that. I'm not saying that this is a horrible book that should not be read, but I have a hard time calling it a textbook with my name as approval on that. Because that's not, I think you're absolutely right, Anya. There's gonna be a lot of students who this maybe does not affect. But my concern is for the ones it does affect, even if it's a minority. It's not something that I can say, yes, I voted to make that a textbook. And that's my concern.
Need to have a motion or an amended motion or something to vote on. Can I ask a question of you, Debbie, as the head of curriculum and instruction?
Please, yes.
If a book were being read by a class or by a book club in a class, and I'm assuming it's 11th and 12th graders given the age, can we feel confident that our staff would be prefacing the scene that Jesse is talking about, kind of unpacking it before the kids got to it? And giving the kids an option of, you might want to skip this chapter or whatever, and you're not going to be penalized for it. Because I see your point, Jesse. You make a good point when you say, when you're in the middle of the book is not the time when you're going to go tell the teacher, I don't want to read this book, give me another book.
Well, typically in 11th and 12th grade, we do book clubs, right? So this isn't the teacher who put this book forward does not plan on assigning it to every student and mandating that they read it. And so I want to put that out there. So typically what they do is they provide students with descriptions of the books and maybe some additional information of the contents of the book so that they can choose novels that are of particular interest to them for the windows and mirrors that Jesse talked about earlier. Trustee Dempsey, excuse me.
You can call Jesse. And I think that the thing too with that is that, the jacket cover of this, I would absolutely pick it up and read it. It's a fascinating book. But you're not really prepared for the description of the book on the jacket and what's inside. And I'm not saying that everything has to be happy and hunky-dory, but it's also a fictional work. I'd maybe view it differently if this was a nonfiction book of something that happened in history that's a real event. So that's where, for me, I go, does this raise to that level? And then the other thing too is, and I totally understand what you're saying, is the intent for this being put on here is for that express purpose, but this would give carte blanche across all high schools, across all grade levels.
Yes, it would. But at the same time, I really do, and I, with all due respect, I know you do as well. And we have had long, wonderful, great conversations about this book and a couple others, but I do trust them to make this judgment for their students in terms of when it's appropriate and when it's not appropriate. And I think that anybody would look at this book, understand that the age according to, the Junior Library Guild is grades 11 and up, and they would only use it for those grades. I am extremely confident.
So do we attach to the titles in the approved list what the age appropriate bands are? Because I mean,
We
Dr.
do.
Malloy, you really said age appropriate was, kind of a guiding principle. So I just want to make sure
We
that that
do, and we
communication is
expect
clear.
teachers to follow that absolutely 100%. Yes, once we buy the books and they're in circulation at a high school, like no one's necessarily, overseeing that except for the administrators and the teachers who are expected to follow that. They are expected exactly like Dr. Malloy said. Essentially what happens when a teacher wants to use a novel for a class is they find the novel, they read it, they look at the criteria, including age appropriateness. They talk to fellow department members and determine whether they're on board or not. So the other department members have to sign off on it. The principal has to sign off on it, and then it comes to us in Ed Services. And then we do a thorough vetting as well, 100%, to ensure that, number one, it fits the California state standards, it fits our district-wide essential standards, and that the teacher is using it, for a particular purpose that is exemplified in our strategic directions.
So that's
And-
the whole process to get it on the campus, in the textbook room, or wherever they're stored.
Yes.
And then the teachers know what's there, and then the age appropriate and the genre and all that stuff
Yes,
is
and
part
this
of the
is-
description.
Exactly, Trustee Hurd. And I just want to emphasize, this is not something that they take lightly at all. This is something that they take very, very seriously in terms of what books they want to add to their collection in order to meet our strategic directions and to diversify the types of novels that we have so that students can, with the windows and mirrors idea, really choose novels that are relevant to them, that they're interested in. And so this would just be one of many.
And if I can just add, it connects to the comments I made earlier. When we speak about the foundation of age appropriate, because I understand content, we have very different views in our district. But when other entities do age appropriate, like some of our staff, we've had to say, that's not age appropriate. And we are willing to call that out. We don't have that problem hardly ever, but when it does happen, that's where the process we have is for the purpose of ensuring that. But the other piece that we take into account, which again, I totally understand the differing views in our community when I say this, that because our students have access to so much information that is not regulated in any supervised fashion, the other piece of this process is that there is an educator in the room with the students when they're dealing with these topics. And as we say, if we were, and the reason why I Trustee Van Zee, when you brought this up, I went back to the process that you have agreed to, that regardless of how you decide, I think it's important for you as a board to give us that policy direction. So in other words, we've followed the policies and the procedures and the practices that you have already approved. If you wish to pull something out, that's your prerogative. But just know that the next time this happens, it's not us being in any way disrespectful. We're going to follow that same process unless you change that process. We're not recommending that you change that process, but it's your job to decide if that's what's needed. So just know that regardless of your decision this evening, we're going to be doing the same thing just because we believe we're following your direction. I wanted to add that as well.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about the word textbook, because I think that I know that that's, the way the policy reads and that this is considered a textbook, but it's not a textbook in the same way that a math textbook would give you a line by line direction of how to do a math problem. This is a story. This is a fictional story. It's a narrative. It's allowing people to see other people's experiences and maybe learn a little bit from that and how they can react if, God forbid, they might be in that experience that Jesse spoke about. It's not a textbook in the way that it's not giving a 12th grade, a 17, 18-year-old student line by line direction of how to live a dark life where they are used and abused and have no autonomy or control in how they react to it. It actually allows that. It's a story. So I wanted to point that out because I think that when we use the word textbook, we make assumptions about how that's going to be used and how it's going to be taught and the expectation that a person that's learning is going to see it. And this is a story. It's a story.
So we do have one card that was submitted. Lisa?
Thank you. So I am going to issue a spoiler alert. I've read the book. Frankly, found it a little boring, maybe just because I don't connect with gamers and things like that. But the pattern that I've seen at these meetings with everything being about, everything sexualized. What I'm concerned about is why you're not mentioning the mass shooting in the book that kills one of the main characters. Why is that not a concern? And it's one particular scene of dominance in the bedroom. So that's concerning to me. I think if my child was going to read it, I would preface the shooting to him before anything else, not the sex scenes.
So, and just to be clear, when I did describe the book, I described all those details. I said it was a fairly dark book and it dealt with suicide and it dealt with a bunch of, there's a lot of things in here. So it's not just that, it's abortion, it's suicide, it's depression, excessive drug use, excessive sexual content. I did go through the whole list. So I would refute that point.
Okay. I think we need a motion or something.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the textbooks in action item 11.5.
Second.
Second was Susanna. Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. We did a roll call. We went back to my old ways.
My job.
It's your job, Cindy. Go ahead.
The motion was made by Board Member Bratt and seconded by Board Member Ordway. Roll call vote. Student Board Member Iapan.
Aye.
Board Member Van Zee.
No.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
My one question is, Board Member Van Zee, do you want to go on record as approving all the other books in this section with the exception of that one?
That would be great.
Okay, I'm happy to put that into the minutes.
Thank you.
Okay.
The motion passes
Yes.
4-0. 4-1, correction, 4-1.
Very good and healthy, respectful discussion, which I want to applaud. Okay, that's the end of our action items. We are now at board member reports. Oh, sorry, guys. Other public comment. I even had just written additional public comment. So it's only 8:30. That's not even that late. Okay, so I'm gonna
We need
say
12.1.
some names.
12.1.
Now I'm getting confused. Oh, there's the number 12. God, I'm all over the place. It's because I jumped to 13. I turned the page. So we have the informational items, which are under number 12, and then we'll get to the public comment. So first one is Christine McCarty.
Yes, thank you. So
Thank
this
you.
is part two for attendance this evening, and these are two new board policies. One board policy and an AR and one new additional AR. We're bringing forth a new administrative regulation regarding attendance supervision. In our previous AR BP 5113, we had a small paragraph describing the role of the attendance supervisor in the district. And we really felt that we needed to bring forward the most current CSBA language regarding the roles and responsibilities of that person, which does fall under our director of student services, Dave Kravitz. and Sasha Lupkin, our TSA on special assignment for attendance. So that is here for discussion and review. This is a first read of that. And additionally, we're bringing forth a new BPAR. We had another very small paragraph in our old board policy 5113 that just generally spelled out our SARB process. And so we are bringing forth a new policy, board policy and administrative regulation that spells out exactly how we conduct business when we do have the SARB panel that comes forward. So we have that spelled out in both the board policy and the AR. And this is a first read. So any questions or feedback or anything that you'd like to offer, I have Sasha here yet again, who runs our SARB panel with our assistant, our director of student services, Dave Kravitz. So please feel free and ask us any questions or offer any suggestions to these two items.
And if I may, before Assistant Superintendent, because this is in response to much feedback we've received from our community about what they want from us in terms of attendance, could you just highlight a couple of the really important pieces that we know our community is interested in?
Sure. So I think probably with regards to those details, those were under probably the previous 5113. I know what you're speaking about, though. I can kind of revert back to that.
And the reason I'm saying that is because I really want our community to know that we've heard them. And I don't think we underlined that before to the same degree. So could we do that?
Absolutely. So in the previous action item, we talked about 5113, where we really elaborated on specifically the excused absences with physician's verification and 10 days of absence, 10 or more. I'm going to say this wrong because I don't have it in front of me, but 10 or more scattered. Sasha, you're going to help me. Scattered, full day, excused or ill absences. We wanted, we heard from our community, we heard from our attendance staff, we heard from our students and our parents around really having some consistent practice around that and taking our board policy and really bring it to fruition, both on our school sites, on our websites, and then in practice. And so we really wanted to highlight that we hear from our attendance staff and from our schools and from our parents. And we wanted to make sure that that policy was implemented appropriately. So basically our parents and our families will have the opportunity to get to 10 days of Sasha, you're gonna have to help me again. Ill or excused. This is why she's the expert. Yes, before having to bring forth a doctor's or physician's verification. And there's been some confusion around that. So we've had a lot of conversation. Thank you again to our team with our attendance staff, our office managers to really kind of shine a light on this and be able to put a practice in place that's going to be consistent across the board. And then after this evening, we plan on taking that message back out again to make sure that we're kind of collaborating and calibrating again the policy, making sure everyone's implementing it correctly.
And thank you for that. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
No,
I do want to underline that the feedback we received was about the consistency piece. That
But-
depending upon which school that you were in, it was treated differently. And that particular issue then got shared between families. And then we were getting questions about why here and there and all the rest. So I just want to say this whole significant amount of work, thank you for leading with Dave and others, Christine overseeing, is really trying to respond to something that's crossed our desk in numerous occasions. But I appreciate you just highlighting that.
And I would also state that in this new board policy, specific to what Dr. Malloy shared, the SARB panel is an important part of our process. And I don't think our past board policy did due diligence in explaining that process. And so this SARB new BP and AR really details all the functions of that panel and the process by which Sasha and Dave kind of take our panel through supporting our students in our schools.
Yeah, because, right, this is a kind of a new policy and I know there's SARB, but I'm thinking maybe Sasha, if you wouldn't mind giving a little more information on what that SARB panel, like the makeup, the number of members on the SARB panel.
So when I took this up last year, we did not have a SARB panel. So we've developed a SARB panel that includes our community partners with Discovery and Cope Family Support. And we have memorandums of understanding with both of them to be able to provide a limited amount of services and support at no cost to a family. So that if we identify that there's an issue where a student really needs counseling and they can't afford it, and that's what's getting in the way of coming to school, that we can offer that support to make sure that they're getting what they need. Likewise, the parenting support through COPE is sometimes an issue for some of our families where the parents are like, I'm at my wit's end. I really don't know what to do. And that could be another resource for them where they're not dealing directly with school staff, where it's a more neutral party and they can feel like they're getting all of their needs met without having to rely on like the other relationship they have with the school. We also have a school nurse who is part of our panel, one of our district nurses. We have, of course, Dave Kravitz is on our panel. We've had a member of our alternative ed program because frequently conversations about venture or Del Amigo can come up. And that's really important to talk about whether an alternative education placement might be a better fit for that student, depending on what's going on for them. We've also had the County Office of Education Wellness in Schools program. Liaison Kathy Estrada is part of our panel. And that's been fantastic because she's been able to connect us with resources through County Office of Ed as well as through the mental health department in the county as well.
And I did want to thank you, Sasha, highlight that a couple of the items in this BP and AR, specifically in the board policy to the SAR panel, we would be bringing forth in November per this new policy. Any additions, which this new board policy suggests, possibly having a parent, possibly adding more resources, if any needed, possibly having a few more other members to the panel would support these students in the schools. We would bring forth for approval that entire recommended panel to the board in November. So then going forward, this new process, if approved, would be put in place and we would have a panel that's brought forth to you on an annual basis so that we can constantly revisit if there's additional resources or spots that we need to add to fill. And then specific to the AR, again, we just added anything that the CSBA recommended in terms of the composition and the basic duties of the SARB panel. We outlined the process for chronic absenteeism, student absent review board duties, and again, we'd be bringing forth that panel to you in November. We're excited to kind of bring these forward because it really does spell out, I think, an amazing process that our team has led and really supports kids and families to the best of our ability.
Can I ask a question? How many students are we dealing with as far as chronic absences?
Are you talking about like district-wide or specifically?
District-wide? No, district-wide.
More than we would like. I think that the chronic absenteeism rate for the district overall is maybe around 10%, which is chronic absenteeism is a student is absent for 10% of the days that they are enrolled. And our excessive absenteeism policy works a little bit differently. But chronic absenteeism is something that gets tracked on our dashboard.
And if I can add, the chronic absenteeism issue is a statewide issue and beyond. It speaks to all kinds of different aspects that we are exploring with the help of our team. Our principals are all leaning into this with our staffs. That's happening at every school. We are concerned about it as it relates to our funding because it's directly connected. And so we're looking at the whole attendance piece first from what our students need as a priority, and then the ripple effect of other realities that are connected to it. And sometimes it's because our kids need special support. Sometimes there may be mental health challenges that we need to lean into. Sometimes it may be cultural that our kids think that, or our families think that we can get the independent study contracts and leave for a while. All of these things can be very problematic, and we're going to try to be systemic about our approach. But that's a little broader than this particular topic and more to come on how we're dealing with that. But thank you for your work on that.
Can I ask, have you noticed a upswing in the chronic absenteeism post-COVID? As the teachers nod their head in the room, I've noticed it with.
Yes, but I do think that as we have been putting more supports in place over the last year plus, I think that we're actually getting our students back to school more quickly, which is really great to see.
Well, and I would think from how you described it in a more supportive way too. I think that, one of the things that COVID did was it did open up our eyes to some of the struggles that young people have. And so now being able to really be thoughtful in the supports and bringing them back into the classroom and lifting them up in that space. So we appreciate your work. Thank you.
One piece also I failed to highlight and mention in the BP. Under this new policy, we would be subject to following the requirements of the Brown Act, much like we do for our CAC. And so I just wanted to make sure that you did see that portion. So I think it will formalize the process, and it will also just help us run a panel that is following the proper rules and policy procedures.
So how does that work if the nature of what they talk about is very closed session like? Do they meet and then go into closed session?
Yes, so we do it very similar to how you do, and F3 has been wonderful and amazing in addition to our county in supporting us. But prior to us implementing this, that's part of the work that we're going to do, is just finalizing some of those next steps. But it is mirrored very similar to how we do business here, and anything that discusses a student is talked about confidentially in closed, and then any action that's taken is brought forth into open, and obviously the student's identity is not revealed and a student number is attached, much like we
But
do.
that way you get a sense of, we discussed 5 students today, right?
Yes.
So the
Yes.
magnitude of the problem is public.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Anything else, trustees? Is there a card? I thought somebody just pointed. Oh, okay. So can we go on? All right, let's do our public comment. First speaker, thank you very much, Sasha. First speaker will be Mia Scatini, and second will be Alexa Brown.
I'm not Mia.
You're not
Scatini,
Mia
that
Scatini.
Moses meets you, but she asked me to read this as she had to go home and do homework. She is a student, so I'll do my best. Hi, my name is Mia Scatini, and I'm a senior at SRV. Since beginning high school, Mr. Giacinto, or DG, as we like to call him, has been nothing but a safe and loving teacher to me and every single one of his students. He has not only inspired us musically, but inspires us to grow into the compassionate and clever young adults that I know each of us have grown into with his help. As president of our choir program, I have gained a closer relationship to DG than any of my other teachers. I have seen firsthand his genuine care for each of his students. I've seen him go out of his way to make everybody feel welcome and fully accepted in the choir room. He has transformed our classroom into an incredible, inclusive place, completely opposite of what he has been accused of. He has made sure to make it clear that he is human too. And if anyone has had any sort of issue with something he has said or done, he immediately self-reflects and alters his ways. He puts the needs of his students before anything else. DG is known around our campus as a fun and personable teacher whose door is always open. He's helped so many students on personal levels. He's helped me on personal levels, and every one of us is so grateful for him. And my high school career would not be as good as if it wasn't for DG. I wouldn't be the person I am standing here today if it weren't for DG. And I can say with full confidence that each of his students feel the same way. Thank you.
Thank you. So Alexa Brown, are you still here? Wonderful. And then Michelle Brennan Cook will follow.
Hi, I'm Alexa, and I'm in Mrs. DiGiacinto's choir class, and I was part of the discussion that was stated earlier. I just want to say that conversations like these are very important for us to learn about different cultures. Everything I got out of that discussion was positive, and from what I saw, everyone was engaged and learning from it. Although this wasn't the reason to hold the discussion, it made me think of our upcoming choir tour to South Africa, where the culture is very different from ours. And a benefit of this conversation was preparing us to be open-minded about the culture change when we travel there. There was nothing negative that came out of this discussion except for the unnecessary reaction.
Good evening. I am Dr. Michelle Brennan Club. I'm a parent in the district, and more importantly, I'm the co-president of SRV Voices, our booster organization supporting choir. I've come here this evening to address an injustice done to our choir program and to our choir teacher. I'm going to change my comments a little because of some of the things that have been said today, so please bear with me. Sadly, this was not an issue of people having a different opinion. I agree very much with what Dr. Malloy said. Not everyone will always agree. We don't always get it right. This is not a matter of getting it right. This is a matter of a knee-jerk reaction to a hate group, a chat on Facebook, not a formal complaint filed against Mr. DiGiacinto in the program, not even an anonymous tip line as it's been tried to be framed. This was simply chat on Facebook about an incident that did not happen, that was verifiably false. And yet our district, the leadership, through what I would consider some cowardice and desire to appease, allowed that hate voice to be amplified. Amplified in a way that I hope you have powerfully seen today has impacted not just Mr. DiGiacinto, but his students, our program, the integrity of what we do at SRV. I find it very sad that we would believe we could appease a hate group by offering up a teacher's reputation and his future when something is verifiably false. But more important is what we do when we realize we've made a mistake. Being psychologically aware, mature individuals like we ask our students to be, we have to self-reflect. We have to admit our mistakes. We have to truly, with true remorse, apologize to the people that we've harmed. Unfortunately, at this time in our district, despite words that were mentioned today, our principal has not apologized for signing a letter she knew was false. And our superintendent has not directly apologized to a teacher he knows he's harmed. That's unacceptable to me as a parent, and I think you've heard it's unacceptable to our students as well. Ironically, last night we received an email about circles, our social emotional learning at SRV, community, integrity, responsibility, courage, love, and empowerment. Amplifying the voice of the hate group is the opposite of loving those students who count on us. Failing to have integrity and responsibility when we've made a mistake, to experience true remorse, and to express that to our community through a learning and apology is what I think needs to happen at this point. I would like to commend the board and particularly Mr. John Campopiano for the time he has spent trying to heal our community around this issue, but it is not enough. Until Mrs. Cottrell apologizes for things she knew were false and Mr. Malloy, Dr. Malloy apologizes for things he knew, we're not going to be complete. Thank you.
Okay, Jeff Davis, and then following Jeff will be Kara Porter, I think it is. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Davis, and I have taught at San Ramon Valley High School since 2001. This is the tearing up of the prepared statement portion of the evening, because we were thinking we were talking about an hour and a half ago. I have a bachelor's degree in history from UC Berkeley. I have a master's degree in history from UC Davis. I have been working for the last 2 decades to work on being an expert in history and economics, and political science and sociology and geography and ethnic studies. And I am currently working part-time as a teacher on special assignment at San Ramon Valley High School because of for the instances that happened, well, not just last spring, but all the time, as the students pointed out. And we are doing work, we are trying to do work to address some of these problems that our students are facing. And so I was the person who gave the presentation to the choir class that day during Exodus. And I guess my question is, or my comment is, we're talking about age appropriate principles. And in the last 20 years and through the training that I've gotten, including from the district, I believed that what we were doing was exactly what the district, what the board has asked us to do with the strategic directives. We were doing social emotional learning, deep learning, equity, having students collaborate with students, communicators. I thought we were doing what we were supposed to do. And then it turned out that because, as was just said, a parent or some number of parents said that they were concerned instead of following the policies that you have laid out, it was determined that a letter had to be sent to the parents of the choir that would be was inappropriate. And I guess my question to the board is, do you think that what we did was inappropriate? Because if you do, then I clearly need better guidance on what it is that I'm supposed to be teaching, because I believe I'm within the framework of the state standards. I believe that I'm in the profession of my field. I believe that I'm doing what is age appropriate. And if you do think that what we did was appropriate, then as was just said, there's been a lot of harm done, not just to the choir program, but to all of the teachers in the district who now do not know whether or not they will be safe in their careers. And administrators do not know if they will be safe in their careers if they take on this work. We need a clear statement of, yes, this was what we want you to be doing. Yes, this is appropriate. I guess also the problem is this wasn't just a reaction or an overreaction. There was an investigation that was done. The students were interviewed, were pulled out of their classes, and they all said that what this group said was false. And despite knowing that it was false, an action was taken. I don't know how we deal with that moving forward as teachers.
Okay, and then I still have Allison Hagan here. I'm thinking she probably left, but if she's here, I want to give her an opportunity. Okay, thank you. So that was the last card.
If I can just beg your indulgence. Thank you for that last question. And because part of the challenge is we're talking about personnel, which we don't speak of in public, I will make myself available to any individual teacher at San Ramon Valley High School to explain what we based our decisions on. Again, I'm not free to speak about it in this public space because we do follow very strict rules around confidentiality, but I'm happy to do that for anyone who is interested, especially those of you most impacted. So at least you can understand where the decision came from. We can have that discussion about where we may agree or disagree regarding what's appropriate. I'll be sure to keep the board explicitly involved in that process. And I hope that through that discussion, we can get to a better place. And I will reach out tomorrow to figure out a way through your principal, because that's where I'll start, to make myself available for that over the next 10 days.
Okay, now we are at Administrative Matters Board reports. Jesse, would you like to go first? Anya, I know you already gave yours, so I'm assuming, okay.
No, I'll keep it quick. So one of the things that I've been most excited about since our last board meeting was the steering committee for deep learning and innovation. We had our first meeting of the year, and we were able to meet with parents and students and teachers and administrators to really go into what is deep learning, how are we applying it, what does it mean? And it was exciting because there was a lot of, are you not entertained? Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm just teasing you. All right, I'm just teasing you. Say clear the room out. But no, it was a great time. It's an important thing that we're talking about in our district. It's really, taking us to the next level. And so I was very excited to do that. I'm excited to sit on that steering committee for the rest of the year and help us, learn more about what that looks like and applying it in the classroom and helping people understand what it is too. With that, I yield my time. Yeah.
Yeah, just a few things. Really great weekend with Run for Education. So thank you, San Ramon Valley Education Foundation, for all the coordination, right? And everyone who helped, all the volunteers. And then of course, our community really, came out to support us. And I think I haven't talked to them yet. I believe it was like over 2,500 people, who came out. And I mean, it was a great, I think, community feeling, right, with everyone. And I love the mascots that were there, so thank you for the mascots who were like in their costumes, on a hot day. So, also, I think 3 of us attended the CSBA Roadshow. Oh, sorry. Oh, I forgot to count myself, probably. Yeah, that's right. There goes my memory. Okay. Four of us who went to the road show and it's actually it's a CSBA kind of gathering for Contra Costa County and Alameda County. Not only school board members, but admin and anyone, right, in education. And it's a great look at to be introduced to resources, but also the different bills that or proposals that either been vetoed by the governor or now have been put into effect. And we, kind of listen and discuss a couple of those that might affect, right, and what the implications are for actually implementation. So it was a great session there. Really looking to love the first thing we did this evening, right, with the recognizing students or alumni, and looking forward to next Wednesday for the state of the district, continuing celebrating those alumni, as well as our guest speaker. And then also if just want to plug for Advocacy Day, PTA Advocacy Day coming October 27th. I keep wanting to say 23rd. I don't know why. It's 27th, October 27th. So yeah, it should be really interesting. Thank you.
So I was making this list and I actually can't believe what I did. I'm going to give you the list. We did the CSBA Roadshow. I did Facilities Town Hall, Mental Health Advisory Board, Parcel Tax Meeting, Grade Reform Committee, Social Emotional Wellbeing Committee, 2 presentations, one at Sycamore PTA and Neil Armstrong on the parcel tax. I went to the Green Valley Fall Festival, did the Run for Education and had sore feet afterwards. And looking forward to Advocacy Day. So I have been busy and it's been really fun and it's been really great to get out and see the kids and be in the schools and talk about parcel tax and everything else. So I'm grateful to be here.
So we had a traffic board meeting on September 18th, and we have an upcoming workshop on the 23rd of October, where we will be reviewing and discussing the level of service analysis. So this is an analysis that I think we do every 10 years, or I guess this is the next one that we've done 10 years later, to kind of see where the congestion is and then look at what that means for the traffics program and how we need to adjust it. When it was first implemented, Doherty Valley wasn't up to where they're at now in terms of fully developed and the schools fully actioned. So anyway, so that should be very interesting. We had our first equity steering committee that Anya mentioned. And one of the points I wanted to make around that was the fact that we've shifted a little bit where the students meet ahead of time as a cohort, and then they come into the meeting with the adults. And I think that that's a really wonderful way to help to uplift and empower the student voice in those spaces. So I really appreciate the work that Hong has done for that. I got to go to the San Ramon Valley High School Feeder Facility Town Hall. There was a lot of aspirational things that were really exciting to see, and the process with that has been incredibly robust, and I really appreciate all of the work that's being done about how we're going to see and support the district in the future. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about something that's not so great to talk about, but Susanna and I this summer in July, we had the opportunity to go to Israel and the West Bank. And we were in an educational delegation with the Jewish Community Relations Council. It was a empowering and transformative trip, and I think Susanna would agree with that. We visited a lot of communities. We visited Palestinians in the West Bank. We visited Jewish folks. We visited a Bedouin school in a community. We were fortunate to spend some time in a small, I'm going to get a little emotional, in a small Israeli community on the border of the Gaza Strip. We visited the school and met with students and teachers there. We spoke with folks. who knew the area before the treaties and the walls separated the diverse communities living in the region. They talked about how prior to the treaties and the walls, people would go into what is now the Gaza Strip to the market. And they, you know, it was back and forth, and it was just a space where people lived. And yes, there was some discourse and some polarization, but it was where people lived. The people that we met, they wanted peace. They talked about it and they actively worked towards it. And they're now living in war. Many of that community have actually died. And they're now terrorized by political players on all sides, backed into their corners. So I'm asking in this long and relatively emotional statement, I'm asking that we all hold that hope that they have in our hearts, that hope that they have for peace in our hearts, that we nurture it and that we actively work towards it. Not just for the people in Israel, the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, not just for the people in Ukraine and Russia and their loved ones, but for the entire world. Because I think in this moment in time, we really have to actively work towards peace for everybody. Thank you.
That was really beautiful. I don't want to give you a list after that, but I'm going to give you my little list just to do it. Really appreciated the camaraderie we had at the CSBA Roadshow with 4 of us going together. I think that looked really awesome having 4 out of our 5, you know, there. We really represented. That same day, I learned that I got selected to be on the planning committee for the next conference, not this one, but next year. So I'm really looking forward to that. I wanted to congratulate our hardworking administrative team all the way down to from the district office to the school sites for your dedication. I know sometimes it's a thankless job, and I'm glad you get your week. It's not enough for it just to be a week, but you are appreciated and you do an excellent job guiding our district and our school sites and our service center and everything else. I too attended the equity steering committee and then also the deep learning. I loved the deep learning one because it meets in person. And I just think it was just magical. And what was different about this year's meeting is the number, well, just the number of attendees was probably 3-4 times more than any time last year. But there were kids and lots of them, and they talked, and they didn't have to be like, you know, Deb was worried they'd feel like overwhelmed, and they weren't at all. And one of the young ladies I sat right next to, I then saw at her job, like, you know, 2 weeks later. It's like, hey, I know you. It was really just kind of fun. I too went to one of the facilities town halls. I went to the Doherty Valley one, and that was really kind of surreal looking at, you know, because in my head, those schools are so new. What could we possibly be doing to them? And it really was kind of blow your mind about the different ways of looking at the spaces and just the realization of how much smaller some of their enrollment is, that we could even possibly give up classrooms to create outdoor spaces was kind of mind-blowing. Very pie in the sky, but very cool to think about. I too will be part of PTA Advocacy Day. It's been great working with that team, planning that day. And one more thing I wanted to add is I do also have office hours, and mine tend to follow the week after the board meeting. So I'm kind of hoping about is things that we talked about at the board meeting, maybe people will like to speak about. So really glad we're all doing that too. I think that's good outreach. So that's all. Okay. Anything else? Anyone? Going, gone? Meeting adjourned. Look at the time. It's only